already. Listen, I'll say this early as we wait on people to really get in. We're going to go to President Trump press conference shortly that he had on Air Force One, about 20 minutes there. But it's been a whirlwind week. I've been honestly trying to play hopscotch on when I'm gonna hop in stream. I know it's like I got to change the banner at the top, say, hey, every day we're going to stream. Like, listen, what's going on? Frequent Films, my dog. The issue ends up being last Saturday, not Saturday, just past Saturday before, when college football was just, playoffs were really just getting popping. People didn't know how really good the U was for what it is. But Venezuelan's dictator president, Maduro, got snatched up. We know he went to court this week. We know about the Nike fleece jacket. I had some business partners hit me up to say, hey, Phil, do you think this is a play with Nike just to get people involved? Like, hey, he was wearing a jumpsuit. I said, no, I say, bro, cool like that. He was really wearing a Nike jumpsuit. And then you had the incident in Minnesota happen with the ICE agent killing the lady and multiple videos coming out, multiple protests from that. A shooting in Portland. You had the Chevron meeting with Rubio and Trump about exploration in Venezuela, getting 30 to 50 million gallons a year in perpetuity. And the vice president of Venezuela just, gonna go in with it. I guess it's cool. I guess that's what they're gonna do. All right. But it's been so much happening that a lot of people don't even realize, check this out, that a lot of state legislatures have either gone in session this past week or going in session this week, or maybe sometime in January, February, or March. A lot of states. When we look at states and pull up my notes, you have Georgia and Florida going in session this week. The great state, free state of Florida. Hold on, I have some other ones in here. Wait. West Virginia, Kentucky, Texas already in session, Louisiana already in session. And things are moving. People focus on Project 2025. I completely get it. We got through 2025, it's 2026. And now we're to a point of saying, all right, cool. How far is this shit really gonna go until we get to November? And will the people be engaged enough between now and November to actually take Congress back, to stop what's happening? But I think it's about to be a railroad. You have so much happening. Even in the state of Florida, you have this guy, James Fishback, whatever, who's hopped in the race for governor and could be a thorn on the side to my dog, Byron Donalds. Now, am I voting for Byron? I don't know. Do I think he's going to make it through to be the next governor? I think he's got to get through the primary first. I said it before. That's what the reality of the situation is. Hopefully we can get Byron on the show to say, hey, let's fight for it. But I do understand he has to appeal to an audience that's not just minority. That's America first. And the Trump endorsement is strong, but we're going to see how strong it is. And if somebody else can actually come in and take this Ross Perot guy out. We're going to listen to his interview with Tucker Carlson after Trump and some other things. But thank y'all for tapping in. Everyone who has been supporting the channel so far, past couple months, all the way till we now in 2026. We have goals for this year. Hopefully getting to somewhere around 100,000 followers, subscribers, somewhere in there. We're not going to sell out to get there. We're not going to bot it up. We're not going to cheat to get there. We're just going to have a genuine conversation like we're having with you right now to say, hey, here's what's happening in the world. Here's what we're doing. And here's how we're going to get to it. But I'm going to start off today's stream with my home state, the great state of Florida. I know I have Trump up, but that's an issue there for people watching on the canvas. Hold on one second. I'm gonna start off in the great state of Florida with, actually I'll keep it full. Some bills I really like coming out this week, right? Now, there's not a lot of headlines regarding, how can I say, hot button woke issues, but you do have Senate Bill 206, good friend Senator Harrell, which will require students to be instructed by teachers who have certifications in autism. So basically, in short, Senate Bill 206, Autism Spectrum Disorder Teacher Endorsement, requires that K-12 teachers in classrooms where 50% of the students have autism hold a specialized ASD endorsed certification. I think that's actually good. Knowing that we have a lot of genius kids that are autistic, a lot of kids out there that, and families out there that are looking for help and making sure that if they put on their kids in a school that someone's there who understands how to deal with their child. I think that's a great bill. I think it'll pass all the way through. I'm working on the Patreon actually now to actually project where this bill is going to go, what the final version will look like, to help parents and people out there understand what's actually coming down the pipe, right? Senate Bill 420, patriotic displays in classrooms by Senator Burgess, which mandates a display of George Washington and Abraham Lincoln in all K through 5 classrooms. Now, you could be thinking, how much more patriotic can we get as a country? As Floridians, you know. Florida's America, America follows Florida, you know, however the people want to jingle it up to say. How much more patriotic can we get? I think we can keep going. You know why? Because I think there's a business opportunity out there for people who are basically saying, all right, cool, I want to use AI to create a new image of George Washington as a poster, Abraham Lincoln, and maybe a school district and classroom will buy that product on Amazon, Etsy, whatever. You never know. Special Olympics, Senate Bill 556, Special Olympics as PE credits. Now, in that same bubble there, when you're really dealing with students who have special abilities, you're looking at opportunities to say, you know what, how can they fulfill their graduation credit for PE? Do we want to make them do something extra? Now, what it does is basically say if they participate in the Special Olympics, that they can get the PE credit in high school, which is great, counts towards their graduation. One bill that I actually do like, Senate Bill 534 by the homie Senator Mac Bernard out of Palm Beach County, would require and create a 1-year pilot program. So 3 colleges or universities throughout the state with the highest Pell Grant percentages can basically get SNAP pantries on campus to help those students, meal donation programs included. I think this is great. It'll really impact public universities, state universities, and colleges. The top 3 I've identified are the Florida A&M University, Broward College, and Miami-Dade College. Has potential FIU included, but has to be 3. I think the bill may expand to 3 to 5. You never know. But I do think that those 3 colleges and universities essentially could benefit from this law. Now, this will be coming up on Tuesday, I believe, in the Education Committee. But also, Senate Bill 504, code inspector body cameras. Now, I didn't know that code inspectors needed body cameras. In Florida, it must be an issue. But basically, they're requiring that body cameras be worn when code inspectors go, and that it basically secures the information that'll be presented to the committee. We'll have a post-committee wrap-up on that bill. But those are some of the bills I actually saw this week that are starting off the 2026 legislative session in Florida that say, you know what, these look kind of informative, especially for parents with students with special abilities. I think there's a lot out there for this session. You have some great champions in Senator Gail Harrell and Senator Berman, who really do champion these issues. Didn't really get a chance to look at the House bills for what they are, but they may take different versions. But all that put together again this week, the Florida legislative session starts, and it'll be a good kickoff. I don't think it'll be as dramatic as other sessions that are out there that have been in the past. It's an election year. People want more money to bring home, but also Speaker of the House, Danny Perez, says basically, like, listen, we're going to have a more conservative session here. We're going to cut the budget again. And for individuals like me that work in the appropriations arm of the lobbying process in this state, it really says, okay, damn, that means that if they had silos of maybe $13 million, let's make it smaller than that, $2 million, right? And let's say $2 million in this pot are funding 7 HIV/AIDS programs, right? Hypothetical conversation here, nothing really serious, right? That are throughout the state, or students with special abilities, if we don't want to go that far, right? All of a sudden it says, okay, cool, if we're going to cut back, are some of these programs going to be cut? Does it go from 7 possible programs we're going to fund down to 3 or 4? And what makes those programs give the best ROI to the taxpayers of Florida addressing these issues? Now, not to be so off the cliff with HIV/AIDS or students with special abilities, because there are plenty of other things, plenty of programs in the state of Florida third largest state in the country, that have impact. But it does make to say, you know what, cool. How can we be educated about what is happening? Because the media will tell you everything. Hey, Trump wants to go invade Cuba. He done snatched up Venezuela dictator. He done pled not guilty. The ICE shooters were justified in taking this lady's life. And there's so much that happens that basically says, you know what, at the end of the day, if a lot of these issues aren't in your bubble or aren't on your plate of issues of every day that you care about, then you're never going to know about the issue. So at least on this channel, I try to, at least in this segment, in the statutes, I try to actually go through some of the policies that are coming down the pipe. Now, this is just from my notes. I didn't have it queued up, or really wanted to get to the other part of this because, you know, President Trump, people love Trump. Trump's going to draw the numbers up. But for at least the content, the people that are out there who are here for the first time, at least giving some aspect of what is out there that's going to be discussed in the state of Florida. Let me check the chat real quick. We just added $300 million to the defense budget, bro. Yeah, I was talking about state politics, my brother, not federal, but I get you. The government of Florida doesn't care. Yeah, thought you would dodge that one. Autodex, nah, bro. Tracy, I'm Florida, local white woman, 56. All they want is money, can't rent, can't work, take SNAP away. And now my mom is 83 and Florida is charging her Medicaid $326. Explain that, please. Tracy, I would have to get you a better expert on that, to be honest, because healthcare isn't my main forte, to be real, right? I've worked to help certificate of needs, to help nursing homes and hospitals get extra beds, but for that specific issue, that's not my thing. So what I would love to do, Tracy, if you want to drop a DM to me on Instagram or whatever it may be, maybe get you in contact with somebody. What part of Florida are you in, Tracy? Because that's the first thing to understand. Where are you in Florida? Are you in Duval County, Orlando, Palm Beach, whatever it is? I'm talking about government spending. Oh, okay, yeah, I get you. Listen, the federal government's going to spend whatever the federal government wants to spend. The state government is where you send your money. Basically, this has, I think, the biggest impact because they do basically tell the local governments how to act. So even now, if the state decides to say, let's put a constitutional amendment out there to take away property taxes in the state of Florida on your homestead. Okay, cool. A lot of voters may be like, yeah, I'm not paying no more property taxes. I'm going to take this away. But then it impacts those local governments. Then it's the point of saying, okay, cool. This isn't a federal issue. This is a state issue. So what can you do in your state to get there? But we're going to get to Jerome Powell. We're going to get to Trump. We're going to get to a lot of things. And actually, I just want to take a moment, everyone who's here on the stream right now, thank y'all for tapping in. I am your boy, the hip hop lobbyist, a professional lobbyist in the state of Florida. I've been doing this for 15 years, going into my 16th session. I'm actually working on a piece I'm going to drop on my Substack and LinkedIn tomorrow, how I almost gave up politics to be a streamer, but still working on ending there. But putting that together, gonna drop that on LinkedIn tomorrow. If you're on LinkedIn, make sure you check your boy out, Philip Singleton. I'm not the hip hop lobbyist there, but I'm the hip hop lobbyist here. And let's get back into President Trump and what he was speaking about a little while ago on Air Force One. But I appreciate y'all tapping in. We're gonna get to Jerome Powell after this. Please make sure you like and subscribe, and let's get to it. Big Trump on the mic, man. Oh.
What a nice grouping this is. This is really nice. Look at this. It's going to be very rough in about 10 minutes, so we'll have to go a little bit quickly. They just said very, very rough.
Sir, on Iran, have they crossed your red line yet to trigger a response?
You know, they're starting to, it looks like, and there seem to be some people killed that aren't supposed to be killed. These are violent, if you call them leaders, I don't know if they're leaders or just they rule through violence.
Oh.
But we're looking at it very seriously. The military's looking at it, and we're looking at some very strong options. We'll make a determination.
Which options have you been briefed on? Are you meeting with senior officials?
I'm going to tell you the.
Are you meeting with your
Am I going to really? Are you asking me to say what will they do? Where will we attack? When? And at what angle will we attack from?
Are you considering?
Who are you with?
I'm with the U.S. White House TV pool. I'm wondering, are you being briefed on options? I'm with CNN, sir.
Why don't you just say I'm with CNN?
You say a lot of tricky words.
The White House pool.
Yes.
And I say, what? You're with CNN. You're with
CNN,
you're
yes.
with fake news.
Iran
Because CNN is fake news. Go ahead, give me a question.
Can I ask how you're balancing and how you're deciding your response, the balance between helping protesters versus hindering them? Because I imagine that's a delicate balance to strike.
I mean, some of the protesters were killed through the stampeding. I mean, there's so many of them, and some were shot. We get a full report. I'm getting an hourly report, and we're going to make a determination.
Sir, the son of the disposed Shah and some military leaders are encouraging you to take action in Iran. Is that a serious option? And are you
People have been shot, and we're looking at it. Yeah, please.
Are you going to go to Venezuela, or is Secretary Rubio going to go to Venezuela anytime soon?
Sure. We're doing well. Venezuela is really working out well. We're working along really well with the leadership, and we'll see how it all works out.
Are you planning to meet with Delcy to go?
At some point I'll meet. Yeah, she's been very good. Look, she asked us, can we take 50 million barrels of oil? And I said, yes, we can. It's $4.2 billion. And it's on its way right now to the United States.
When will you meet with Machado this week?
Looking for something to grab here, because it's going to get rough, and I don't seem to be in a very. I think you did this to me. You put me in a position where there's absolutely nothing to grab. So I'm looking for something to grab, and it's not going to be Caroline.
Have any oil companies made commitments to you, sir? Have any oil companies made commitments to the United States after your meeting on Friday, sir?
Yeah.
Which have Exxon,
No, I don't want to say. No, I didn't like Exxon's response. We have so many that want it. I'd probably be inclined to keep Exxon out. I didn't like their response.
What backstops or guarantees have you told the oil companies that you're willing to provide?
Guarantees that they're going to be safe, that there's going to be no problem, and there won't be. There's not going to be a problem. They had problems in the past because they didn't have Trump as a president. Stupid people.
Iran said that they would consider a deal.
What kind of deal are you looking for from Cuba? What kind of deal are you looking for from Cuba?
Whoa.
You're going to find out pretty soon.
Oh,
We're
shit.
talking to Cuba. We'll find out pretty soon. And one of the things I want taken care of, and one of the groups I want taken care of, are the people that came from Cuba that were forced out or left under duress, and they're great citizens of the United States right now.
Hold on, gotta pause the chat for a second. Give a shout out to Frequent Films for dropping some support to the chat. Hold on.
Give me 2 claps and a Ric Flair.
Listen, I never asked for it. I just love the support overall. Appreciate y'all tapping in. Everyone here right now. Please make sure you like and subscribe. But let's get back to President Trump. I appreciate you, my dog.
Give me 2 claps and a Ric Flair.
2 times for my dog.
You have a lot of people forced out of Cuba unfairly, so we're going to take care of, most importantly right now, we're going to take care of the people that came from Cuba that are American citizens or in our country.
Are you going
Do you plan to seize any oil tankers that are headed to Cuba?
Well, we have a lot of oil people really interested. You saw that the other day. That was just a small group because the room in the White House, we need the ballroom, actually. We could have filled up the ballroom practically. We have so many people that want to go in for oil. So you saw some great companies.
Are you going to send Starlink to Iran, sir, to help the people in the ground with the internet blackout for more than 72 hours?
We're going to be talking about that. We may get the internet going, if that's
Are
possible.
you talking to Musk
We
about
may
it?
speak to Elon, because as you know, he's very good at that kind of thing. He's got a very good company. So we may speak to Elon Musk.
What the fuck was doing Elon for?
In fact, I'm going to call him as soon as I'm finished with you.
Just quickly, Iran said that they would consider military and commercial bases as legitimate targets if you struck. Are you concerned
shit.
about...
If they do that, we'll consider things targets that they wouldn't believe. If they do that, we will hit them at levels that they've never been hit before. And they won't even believe it.
Do you think
I have options that are so strong. So, I mean, if they did that, it'll be met with a very, very powerful force.
Damn.
Do you think Iran takes your threats seriously?
I think so. Don't you think so, CNN? Don't you think so? Wouldn't you say that they probably do at this point? After going through it for years with me, being hit, Soleimani, al-Baghdadi, the Iran nuclear threat wiped out, don't you think, and then you just had Venezuela, don't you think, she says, CNN, do you think they take your threat seriously? Wouldn't you say they do after all of the things we've done?
Damn.
What a stupid question.
Are you
Damn, Big
coordinating
Trump.
with allies on the response to Iran?
Big Trump.
When will you meet with Maria Corina Machado this week?
I don't know. know. I hear Tuesday or Wednesday. I look forward to that.
Have you named your board of peace for Gaza yet? Where do those plans
We have
stand?
a board of peace that's being formed, but essentially it's the most important leaders of the most important nations. All nations, but the most important, you take the most important leaders and nations, that's who the board of peace is going to be. Everybody wants to be on it.
One group taking your threat seriously is one area taking your threat. The New York Post.
New York Post treats me semi-fairly. So go ahead.
One group taking your threats very seriously is Greenland. Are you still thinking of military action there, or is anything they can?
Where? Military.
Greenland.
Greenland. Is there anything they can offer you for a deal?
If we don't take Greenland, Russia or China will, and I'm not letting that happen.
Shit.
If we don't take Greenland, Russia or China will take Greenland, and I am not going to let that happen.
What they can offer you, either like
Yeah, sure. I'd love to make a deal with them. It's easier. But one way or the other, we're going to have Greenland.
Are you assuming that compromises NATO? If NATO effectively ceases to exist
I've
in
done a great job. I'm the one that saved NATO. I'm the one that got them to pay 5% of GDP. Wait a minute. It was 2%, and they didn't pay. Now they're paying 5%. I'm the one that saved NATO. You wouldn't have NATO if I weren't president.
Would you pull the U.S. out of NATO? Would you consider
Big
doing
Trump.
that?
Maybe NATO would be upset if I did it. Maybe NATO would save a lot of money. But I like NATO. You know. I just wonder whether or not if we needed NATO, would they be there for us? I'm not sure they would. You know, we spend a lot of money on NATO, and I'm not sure they would.
But what would you say?
Now, what's happened is, as you know, Sleepy Joe Biden gave $350 billion to Ukraine
Oh,
and got nothing for it. I got rare earth back. I got, I think, value back far greater than that. But and that's what he should have done. Now, if you look at what's going on with respect to NATO, we have a very good relationship. 5% GDP, and they pay us. We send them military equipment, and they pay us back the full cost of the equipment. The war is, we make money with the war, but I don't even want to talk about that. I want to save the lives. They're Russian and Ukrainian lives. I want to save the lives. That's the only reason I'm doing it. This is Biden's war. Should have never happened. Would have never happened if I were president. This is Biden's war. It's not Trump's war. All I can do is stop it. And I think we're making progress toward stopping it, which would be number 9 1/4. You know what the quarter is, right? Right? Thailand and Cambodia went at it again, but I got it stopped very quickly. I consider that 1/4 of a war.
You say a lot of tricky words.
Offer to Greenland yet? Have you made an actual offer to Denmark?
I haven't done that, but Greenland should make the deal because Greenland does not want to see Russia or China take over. They don't go there. It's very far away from Greenland. And Greenland, basically, their defense is 2 dog sleds. Do you know that? You know what their defense is? 2 dog sleds. In the meantime, you have Russian destroyers and submarines and China destroyers and submarines all over the place. We're not going to let that happen.
In the meantime,
If it affects NATO, then it affects NATO. But, you know, they
That
need
man
us
said they
much
got
more
2
than we
dogs.
need them. I will tell you that right now.
are you going to increase
UK
the
and
amount of
Germany.
military
That's
bases?
a war that should have never happened with Ukraine.
That bitch Trump
UK and
crazy,
Germany are
man.
for a joint NATO mission to protect Arctic security in Greenland. Does that change your
that bitch
calculus
Trump
at all?
crazy, y'all.
No, look, we're talking about acquiring, not leasing, not having it short term. We're talking about acquiring.
Does that require
And
U.S.
and
troops on the
if we
ground?
don't do it, Russia or China will, and that's not going to happen when I'm president.
Are you going to increase the amount of military bases on Greenland in the meantime?
But we have bases on Greenland.
Are
Yeah,
you going to do more?
we put a lot of soldiers there right now if I want, but you need more than that. You need ownership. You really have. You really need title, as they say in the real estate business.
Ownership.
Minneapolis, your administration has
That's what the black
advocated
scammers be saying. You need
absolute
ownership.
immunity for the ICE
Jay
officer,
Morrison, he used to say that, ownership, didn't he?
Renee Good. How do you define absolute immunity? What does that mean?
Everyone's seen it, and a woman who's very violent. She's a very radical person. Very sad what happened. Her friend was very radical. Go and
But
drive.
for the officer, absolute immunity, how would you define that?
Well, I'm going to let the people define it. But immunity, you know what immunity means as well as I do.
So that officer
But
should be back on the
people
force?
can't be treating law enforcement that way, whether it's ICE or Border Patrol or our police. And men and women. You can't do that. We have, you know, the law enforcement in our country is doing really well, despite the fact that Sleepy Joe Biden allowed people to pour through an open border. Crime stats just came out. We have the best crime stats on record, despite all the criminals he allowed into our country. We've gotten a lot of them out. We have to respect our law enforcement. At a very minimum, that woman was very, very disrespectful to law enforcement. And you heard the same noises. You saw the same crunch that I saw. You can't do that with law enforcement, whether it's police or ICE or Border Patrol or anybody else.
When it comes to ICE officials, no.
Mr. President, you, well, just to clarify on the absolute immunity, do you believe ICE officers should have absolute immunity?
What the hell?
Generally speaking, I mean, these people have been harassed and threatened every day. They had bands out playing so they couldn't sleep at the hotel. I see what they're doing to them. They're threatening them constantly. And all they're doing is doing what I got elected on. We had millions of people that came into our country that are horrible people that shouldn't be in our country. They're murderers, they're drug dealers, they're people from mental institutions, they're the criminally insane, they're people from prisons.
You say a lot of tricky
They were allowed
words.
to come into our country because Biden was a stupid person, and the people surrounding him, very smart, very vicious, but they have no common sense, and they're radicalized people. They're radical left people, not radical right. They're radical left people. And all they're doing is what I campaigned on. I won in a landslide. We won all 7 swing states. We won the popular vote. We won the districts. We won everything. We won the counties. We won the counties by 79%, I believe. I campaigned on the Great Border, and now we have a Great Border. But Biden let 25 million people come into this country, and many of those people are criminals, including 11,888 murderers.
Oh.
And we want them out. And I won on that. Now people don't talk about it because the border is so secure. Nobody wants to talk about it anymore. The border was one of the reasons I won the election. I've done such a good job on it that nobody wants to talk about it anymore. The border is totally secure. And now the crime stats just came out, and they're the best numbers since they were taken, and that's like 50 years ago. We have the best numbers, despite the fact that a lot of criminals were allowed into our country.
Do you think that
We have to respect our law enforcement.
Do you believe that deadly force was necessary after watching all the footage a few days have passed? What's your assessment there?
It was highly disrespectful of law enforcement. The woman and her friend were highly disrespectful of law enforcement. You saw that. They were harassing them, were following for days and for hours. And I think, frankly, they're professional agitators.
But does disrespect
And I'd like to
mean that
find out,
deadly
and we
force-
are going to find out who's paying for it,
But does disrespect
with their brand new signs and all the different things. But these are professional agitators, and law enforcement should not be in a position where they have to put up with this stuff. What that woman and what her friend and what their other friends were doing to law enforcement, not just ICE, law enforcement is outrageous.
Do ICE officials
You heard him.
Can you tell us about your trip to Detroit on Tuesday?
I'm going to be making a trip to Detroit to talk about our unbelievable amount of factories that are opening up all over the country. Car factories and car plants. We have manufacturing plants opening up at levels that nobody's ever seen before because of tariffs. If we didn't have tariffs, you wouldn't have them opening, although they were very happy with the November 5th election. But we have, from Canada they're coming, from Mexico they're coming, from Germany, from Japan, from all over Europe, and from Japan, other places, and from China. They're opening up car factories, car manufacturing plants at levels that we've never seen before. So I'm going to Detroit because they're going to be opening up plants in Detroit or redoing plants, but they're really ripping down old plants and building new. We're the hottest country right now anywhere in the world. I mean, think of it. A year and a half ago, we were a dead country, and now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world.
Mr. President, the House passed a 3-year extension of the
Very good.
EPA in the Senate. If it passed in the Senate, would you veto it or allow it to?
I might, yeah, I might.
Sir, do you have any information about the suspicious object that was found at Palm Beach International
I know nothing about it.
Okay, and back on Iran, the Ayatollah said that he thinks that the protesters are trying to, quote, please you. Do you see it that way? What's your message to the Iranian people
I
right
don't
now?
know that they're trying to please me. They named a boulevard after me, but that's pretty pleasing. But I don't think they're trying to please. I think they just want peace. They want to have freedom. The protesters are after freedom. Iran has not allowed freedom for a long time. And the protesters, I don't think they're trying to appease me. They're trying to get somebody to help them. They're under siege. And now it looks like they're being shot, which is a very bad thing.
Mr. President, is the administration in contact with Iranian opposition leaders as this is unfolding?
Yeah.
What's the message to them?
Yeah. You're going to find out pretty soon.
You said that help is up.
Yeah, go ahead. With the beautiful red hair.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We're coming up with the premiere of Melania. Have you seen the movie yet? And what are your thoughts on
I've
it?
seen pieces of it. It's incredible, I tell you. I think it's going to do very, she did a book, and the book was a big #1 bestseller, and this is a movie, and it seems to be captivating a lot of people's attention. It's very good. Because here we go again. Yeah, it's going to be doing the premiere at the Trump Kennedy Center. It'll be very exciting. It's a very hard ticket, I can tell you. Everybody, Wayne Gretzky and his wife Janet, beautiful wife, great wife. They said last night, gee, I want to go to everybody wants tickets to the premiere.
Do you think that
I think it's going to be great.
Mr. President, is there any timing on the mortgage bond purchases you announced last week?
On the what? Mortgage?
Mortgage bond purchases by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac?
No, they're already doing it. They've started. Yeah, they started the process. And it's having a great impact. Interest rates are falling very rapidly. Not only for that reason, for other reasons too, but interest rates are falling very rapidly.
Do you have any sense that Iran wants
With
to
no help from the Fed. Because we have a total stiff at the
Do you
Fed.
have any
Shout out to Powell.
The cap on credit card interest rates
Yeah.
coming out on Friday. What happens if the credit card companies don't comply by the January date?
Well, then they're in violation of the law.
Did you have congressional
Very
support?
severe things. No, I want a cap on credit card
Yeah,
interest
that's
rates.
funny.
Because, some of them are 28, almost 30%. And the people don't know they're paying 30%. The people out there, they're working, and they have no idea that they're paying 30%. No way. We're putting a 1-year cap at 10%, and that's it. They know it. They've really abused the public. The credit card companies have totally abused it. I'm not going to let it happen.
or perhaps negotiate on their nuclear program?
With Iran?
Yeah, do you think they want to engage diplomatically with you?
They do. They called
They called you?
Is it still
Yesterday.
an option? Is it still an option?
Iran called to negotiate.
Yesterday.
Yesterday, the leaders of Iran called. They want to negotiate. I think they're tired of being beat up by the United States.
Oh,
Can you share any details on that call?
Iran wants to negotiate. Yes. We may meet with them. A meeting is being set up, but we may have to act because of what's happening before the meeting. But a meeting is being set up. Iran called. They want to negotiate. Thank you very much, everybody.
What are you going to do with
Be
East?
careful. A lot of bumps.
What's your plan for East Potomac? Are you going to renovate the golf course? Are you
Yeah, we're going to make it a beautiful world-class U.S. Open caliber course, and ideally we're going to have major tournaments there and everything else. It's going to bring a lot of business into Washington. By the way, the crime stats just came out on Washington, D.C. There is virtually no crime. It's gone from tremendous crime, murder, and everything else. There's virtually no crime in Washington, D.C. Thank you, President Trump. Thank you very much, everybody.
oh, there we go. Thank you all. Now that's President Trump wrapping up. That just launched about an hour ago, live from Air Force One. I see a lot of people in the chat, maybe your first time here, and you're talking about the smoke alarm battery, and I get it. This is why you have a Stream Deck. I'm not getting paid by Stream Deck. This isn't advertised, but here's what happened. You go to voice mod, you add a sound into your Stream Deck, then you hit it. Just like that. So you may be thinking, hey, this guy needs to change his smoke detector battery. No, I don't. I added it to the soundboard just to get to you. So just make sure that if you have not subscribed to the Hip Hop Lobbyist YouTube channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button right at the top, because guess what? We have 9,132 subscribers right now. And I believe, hold on, I gotta hit it. I believe that if I could just get 2 of y'all, 3 of y'all heard it in church this morning when the pastor was talking about it. If I could just get 20 or 30 of y'all, 70 of y'all right now, just to tap right in and hit subscribe, just go ahead and help us get to 9,200 subscribers. Because guess what? I'm not asking for your money. If you want to support the channel, I'll be more than happy to take the cash, but I'm not gonna.
Where's my fucking money?
I'm not gonna ask you for the money, right? All I'm saying is, make sure that you like and subscribe to the content. I'm not asking you to hit the notification bell, but that's what it is. But there was a question earlier. I also heard, what kind of lobbying do I do? I'm an appropriations lobbyist. I'm really focused on the money, the resources, because I've done policy. I put constitutional amendments on the ballot. I've changed election laws. I've worked and changed environmental laws, a lot of stuff. But I realize that the bigger gap is, if you have a small nonprofit out there, you have a business or something that's working, not just get a government contract, but you're making impact in day-to-day people's lives. You say, you know what? I could just do amazing if I got $10,000, $50,000, $100,000 from a grant. If I could just go out there. And the difference is, government will give money. Let's say they put $30 million in a grant for travel, right? Let's say you for travel expenses or visit Florida, right? They give them $30 million. Cool. You can go apply for that grant. What I do as a lobbyist is I get you a specific allocation for your program. So it can be $100,000, $200,000, $500,000, $1 million, but it's about your program. I've gotten money for programs for low-income college students to make sure that they can actually receive a scholarship to cover their travel and things of that nature, like when they're interning on the Hill. Because if you're low income, you can't really afford to live in DC. So this was at least providing a scholarship to help them do that. Also helping seniors. During the pandemic, a lot of seniors were getting scammed, at least securing funding for them so they can actually learn, have a group of teens and young people that were dedicated to teaching old people not to get scammed online. This past year, getting money for Holocaust survivors living in South Florida, making sure that they have full wraparound services to stop depression and anxiety and things of that nature, because there's a lot of anti-Semitism in the world. But my bread and butter has really been getting money for Black kids, reading programs, understanding that a lot of kids living in urban core may have some PTSD syndromes, like President Trump was talking about crime. Think about this. People never really put it in perspective, right? Let's say you have an elementary student who's living in the hood. They hear gunshots all the time, that they witnessed 2 or 3 of their friends, family members get killed, domestic violence, whatever it may be, right? And then you send them to the school and you expect them to learn, test well. And they're dealing with all these other issues that could be similar to PTSD syndromes that veterans are coming over to get benefits from, 80%, 90% disability benefits, right? Whatever. So there's that aspect to say, okay, cool. How can you provide resources for these kids? So let's say you have a program out there that's working with these kids that provides wraparound services, and your services end up helping them in school, things of that nature. Those are things I lobby for. And I really focus on the resources, the money part, because my wife's a teacher for what it is. I understand the resources. I understand the things that got to go into these programs. And I'm not saying just throw government money at it, but if there's a program out there that can do something better than government, then I think that's really it. To me, politics, ramble here, it's like Madden, Spades, 2K, or chess. And the chess move essentially is saying, okay, cool. What is your return on investment to the taxpayer, the everyday citizen in the state of Florida that pays taxes, right? Property taxes, sales tax, whatever. And when you look at a factor of crime, we hate crime, Trump hated crime, DC crime, whatever. What is the benefit of these kind of programs and how they help reduce crime? And those are kind of things I lobby for. So if you're here supporting the channel, just kind of know that's what I lobby for, the hip hop lobbyist, issues that I guess impact hip hop culture. But I want to jump here to a short video that Trump administration put out about the crime in DC. Then we're going to get back to it. All right.
You know, they got this old slogan out. They say, if you want to get away with murder, kill them in DC. That's a slogan. That's the street slogan. Every time I turn around, there's another shooting, there's a murder. In the district, they're killing and walking away with minimum time. See, DC, they need everything that Trump is doing. I don't care what they say about him. Fix it. My name is Felicia Cook, and I've been a DC resident for since I was born there in 1956. On April the 23rd, that's when Marty went missing. I went downstairs and he wasn't there. I said, well, I'm gonna call his job and see if he's been to work, because I know how excited he was about the job. And the people said at work that he hadn't been to work. When I hung up the phone, it's kind of like I knew something was wrong. Meantime, my daughter coming up here every Friday, and she going through everything he had downstairs. And she found out his last conversation was with some girl he had met on.
Just talk about that in aspect of saying, like, you know what, I get it that we can be, not his face, sorry. You can be anti-Trump to an extent, right? You can be anti the ICE raids, anti what's happening throughout the country from the Republican administration, from the Trump administration. But there is that part of that grandmother story, like you heard, to say, you know what? It's not just police brutality for Black Lives Matter. It's everyday people's lives. And I think the issue and narrative got muddled, really, and fuddled with the bullshit when it's like, damn, it's anti-police and Black Lives Matter because the police are killing us. But a situation like this, when someone's killed by a thug that does get the justice system, you know, police that will spend the money, taxpayers' money, to investigate that case and bring that person to justice. Could be 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 30 years. You never know, right? But it's a fact of that pain that grandmother and that mother feels can't be subsided with the bullshit of like, oh, hey, well, we just need to vote Democrat, right? We just need to be anti-Trump taking over these streets. And what you have is a lot of these No Kings protesters, a lot of these Caucasian Democrats, liberals, super Antifa, I guess I want to call them, right? They're the ones leading this message that doesn't even make sense. Now, the issue ends up being in Minnesota, when you have the ICE officer killing a white woman, this, of course, is going to make a major headline about everything. And there's not enough crime in Minnesota as it is in DC and all other places. So they're going to, of course, spin the narrative. But one thing I've seen about Trump is at least some damn consistency in calling the bullshit, right? And I'm not pro-Trump. I'm not anti-Trump. It's like, you know what? Crime is bad for what it is. We need to address this shit. I back law enforcement. I'm not going to change my fucking stance. And it's like, damn, I don't know, right? I'm never justifying taking anybody's life. I have reverence for life, right? But I don't actually understand, like, people who have been victimized by the bullshit that's been happening, not Trump. DC crime been horrible. Chicago crime been horrible forever. But I don't know. This is something else. Just like Jerome Powell supposedly going to get replaced by Tom Tillis. Let's hear what he dropped about 2 hours ago from the Federal Reserve official channel, which is kind of crazy to me because I didn't know that the Fed chair would actually get to a point of having to respond to Trump and rumors on the official side. But let's see what the Fed chair is saying.
Good evening. On Friday, the Department of Justice served the Federal Reserve with grand jury subpoenas, threatening a criminal indictment related to my testimony before the Senate Banking Committee last June.
Oh.
That testimony concerned in part a multi-year project to renovate historic Federal Reserve office buildings. I have deep respect for the rule of law and for accountability in our democracy. No one, certainly not the chair of the Federal Reserve, is above the law. But this unprecedented action should be seen in the broader context of the administration's threats and ongoing pressure.
Oh.
This new threat is not about my testimony last June or about the renovation of the Federal Reserve buildings. It is not about Congress's oversight role. The Fed, through testimony and other public disclosures, made every effort to keep Congress informed about the renovation project.
Oh.
Those are pretexts. The threat of criminal charges is a consequence of the Federal Reserve setting interest rates based on our best assessment of what will serve the public, rather than following the preferences of the president. This is about whether the Fed will be able to continue to set interest rates based on evidence and economic conditions, or whether instead monetary policy will be directed by political pressure or intimidation.
$40.
I have served at the Federal Reserve under 4 administrations, Republicans and Democrats alike. In every case, I have carried out my duties without political fear or favor, focused solely on our mandate of price stability and maximum employment. Public service sometimes requires standing firm in the face of threats.
Damn.
I will continue to do the job the Senate confirmed me to do, with integrity and a commitment to serving the American people. Thank you.
Kind of crazy how Trump turned on his people, though. Because Jerome Powell was his guy. And I guess all put together, when things don't go your way, not going to turn on your ass. But let's go to Tom Homan about this Minnesota shooter. He was on NBC earlier. Let's see what they were catching. And honestly, I'll be real with you, chat. I still haven't seen most of the video. A part of me just still doesn't feel comfortable watching people die. It's just, I don't want to normalize that. It's just not something that's every day in my, oh, let me go see the shooting of how they killed this woman. It's just not normal in my psyche. I can't do it. But let's hear what Tom Homan has to say, another Trump loyalist who's going to, say everything until Trump turns on him and writes a book. Trump's consistent. He's consistent.
As White House border czar Tom Homan, who was the acting ICE director in President Trump's first term. Mr. Homan, welcome to Meet the Press.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. So the world has seen that video, the perspective from the officer. I wonder, Mr. Homan, what do you see in that video?
Look, it's tragic. And I've said from March, if the hateful rhetoric doesn't decline, there's going to be bloodshed. I've seen this movie before. And unfortunately, I was right. And there's been a lot of bloodshed. But look, you got to put yourself in the mind of the officer, right? You're in a city where there's protests, interference, impediment, like these two ladies were doing before this incident occurred. You're in a city where law enforcement response is sporadic at best. You got threats up over 1,300%. Actual assault on ICE officers. You got a woman behind the wheel of a 4,000-pound vehicle, revving her engine, going towards you. I truly believe this officer, in his mind, thought his life was in danger, which allows him to use lethal force. Now, I'll say this, let the investigation play out, right? There's a lot of video we probably haven't seen that the FBI has that we don't. Where's the forensics in the ballistics? That hasn't been unleashed. How about the officer's statements, his own statements? So we need to let this play out, but while we're doing that, we gotta stop the hateful rhetoric. Saying this officer's a murderer is dangerous. It's just ridiculous. It's just going to infuriate people more, which means there's going to be more incidents like this because the hateful rhetoric is not only continuing, now it's tripled down and doubled down.
Mr. Homan, let me ask you, because you have yet again here today said you want the investigation to play out. This is something you said in the immediate aftermath of this shooting. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem called this a, quote, act of domestic terrorism. President Trump said Renee Good, quote, violently, willfully, and viciously ran over the ICE officer. How can the public trust the investigation when there has already been this judgment passed down by the president and some of his top officials?
Look, we've all seen the video. And again, no one knows what's in that officer's mind. You don't, I don't, no one does. But we're gonna let the investigation play out. But bottom line is, why are we even there? Why are we in Minneapolis? Because it's a sanctuary city, a sanctuary state. Bill Melugin from Fox News just put out a list of like 18 people, dangerous, worse than the worst that ICE is taking into custody. Many of them, child sodomy, child rape. ICE is out looking for dangerous people. It's not okay to impede and interfere with an officer. Would it be okay if a citizen impeded and interfered with a U.S. Marshal arresting a fugitive? No. Is it okay if they stood in before the FBI when they're going to arrest a terrorist? No. These are targeted enforcement operations. They're arresting bad people. And it's illegal. Let's remember, what she did was a crime. It's illegal to interfere and impede with ICE law enforcement officers. That's why we're there.
And yet what Minneapolis officials are arguing is that the way that ICE officials are carrying out their duties may be adding to the tension. Secretary Noem labeled this an act of domestic terrorism. What's the evidence for that allegation, Mr. Homan?
Bottom line is, again, why we're in Minneapolis. If they didn't have the sanctuary policies they had.
But do you have evidence that she's a domestic terrorist?
Let me finish this, because this is important. Less officers in the community if we were in the jail. Bottom line, we are forced into the community because the governor of that state and the mayor support sanctuary cities, where child rapists are released back in the community that create a huge public safety threat. So if you want less officers in the street, then let us in the jail.
And I'm going to talk to Mayor Frey about the sanctuary city policies there, but I want to stay on this question. which is about the way in which the woman who was shot and killed is being labeled as a domestic terrorist. Just to be clear, is anyone who protests ICE a domestic terrorist in the eyes of the administration?
I can't say that. You know, it's a case-by-case basis. But, you know, if you look up the definition of terrorism, is there violence? Is there threat of violence based on an ideology that wants to change the way the government does what we do? Look up the definition of terrorism.
But was Secretary Noem correct to label her a domestic terrorist, Mr. Homan?
The fucking heavy list I talking about?
Know what I don't know what Secretary Noem knows and what I know. I can tell you is what they did is illegal. And if you look up this definition of terrorism, it certainly could fall within that definition if you look at the definition of terrorism.
But you don't have evidence.
Pardon me?
You don't have evidence that she's a domestic terrorist.
I don't know what Secretary has that I don't. I'm not going to judge what the Secretary says, but if you look up the definition of terrorism, it certainly can fall within that.
You say a lot of tricky
words. We
words.
all got to agree. There was no reason for this lady to do what she did. There's no reason to be there. If you want to protest, protest. But don't actively impede and interfere. And certainly don't drive a 4,000-pound vehicle toward an officer.
Let me ask you about the broader investigation, because that's part of what the investigation is trying to unpack. What exactly happened in the moments leading up to the incident and afterwards? State and local officials are currently being excluded from the federal investigation. The Hennepin County attorney said this on Friday. I want to get your reaction on the other side.
I cannot overstate the importance of a local investigation, or at least access to the federal investigation by the BCA. Without it, we will not have the ability to be transparent with our community about the results of the expectation, or, as I said, any decision that might come of the review.
Mr. Homan, I've been talking to law enforcement experts who say they have never heard of state and local officials being cut out of a federal investigation. How can the public trust the results of this investigation if it doesn't include state and local officials, the people who are there on the ground?
Well, first of all, this is a federal crime.
But it happened in Minneapolis.
It's a federal crime, and the jurisdiction clearly falls within the FBI. I've been doing this since 1984. When a federal officer is involved with a shooting, it's up to the investigation goes to the FBI. It's been that way forever. And where were all these people? You know, it shocks me they have these subpoenas now when they stood aside and let child rapists be released from jails back in the community.
But it's one thing to have the FBI.
They're complicit while we're in the position where our
you got one of those right there right now.
From an open border for 4 years, where millions of people are released in this country, many of them public safety threats and national security threats. They were silent. They were silent when 500,000 children were trafficked in this country, and they lost track of 300,000 of them.
What you're describing, though, it's one thing for the FBI to take the lead in an investigation. Certainly, that is something that
I want to hold on to my side, too.
State and local officials to be cut out altogether. Are you comfortable with that? Doesn't that undercut the transparency, the sense of faith in the investigation in the eyes of the public?
First of all, that's a question for the FBI. I've never worked for DOJ, but listen, I trust that the FBI would do a thorough investigation. They're professionals. So let them do the investigation. Let's see the investigation.
Should the autopsy be made public?
That's a question for the FBI, but I certainly will tell you that the FBI will be part of the investigation. Like I said earlier, look at the ballistics, look at the forensics. Where did that fatal shot come from? All that would be part of the investigation.
Okay, the vice president defended Officer Ross on Thursday. I want to play a little bit of what he said for you. Take a look at what he said.
What that headline leaves out is the fact that that very ICE officer nearly had his life ended, dragged by a car 6 months ago, 33 stitches in his leg. So you think maybe he's a little bit sensitive about somebody ramming him with an automobile?
Do you think that experience from 6 months ago, which the vice president detailed, may have impacted Officer Ross's judgment?
It may have. I mean, he was under attack once with a vehicle, so certainly, and like I said earlier, totality of the circumstance, just to that prior incident, but the environment right now with the threats against ICE officers have been shot at. They've had Molotov cocktails thrown on them. They've been doxxed. They've been, again, assaults up over 1,300%. Threats alone up 8,000%. And you're in a situation with this lady where it's impeding and interfering already. He's in a dangerous situation. And again, I want people to understand this. Put yourself in his shoes. Put yourself in his shoes where he's in that environment. Assaults against ICE officers all-time high. You have a vehicle that is pointed toward him and accelerates toward him. He has a second to make that decision. And I truly believe, and again, this will come out in the investigation, that in his mind, he feared for his life and he took appropriate action. And that, and according to federal law, that's a legitimate response. And even according to Minnesota law, Minnesota state law even talks about a vehicle coming towards you and your right to defend yourself. This officer, I think in his mind, did the right thing to save his own life and life of others.
You are talking about the perspective of ICE officers. I want to zoom out a little bit and talk about the perspective of some of the people all across this country. There have been 9 ICE-involved shootings since September. By one count, ICE has detained 170 U.S. citizens. People across this country, as you have seen, Mr. Homan, are out protesting ICE's actions. How do you justify an enforcement strategy that is making so many people feel less safe?
Because of the false media reports, because members of Congress who want to
universities.
No, but these are protesters saying this. But these are protesters saying this. I'm asking you to respond to the protesters who say they feel less safe, who say they're concerned for their neighbor.
Because you're looking at media reports and saying ICE are terrorists, they're racist, they're the Nazis. They're listening to people saying that, you know, using the term disappearing people. ICE is doing the same thing they've done for 40 years. ICE is an enforcing law. If you don't like what ICE is doing, go protest Congress. ICE is enforcing laws enacted by Congress. For any member of Congress to say that ICE is a Nazi or a racist or secret police, really? Because they're enforcing laws you enacted. If they're a racist for enforcing law, what's that make you? You wrote the law. And let's remember the true data. The true data, 70%, approximately, it goes anywhere from 60 to 70, of people they're arresting are criminals. Bottom line. But some of the media says, no, that's not true, because they think DUI isn't a crime. DUI kills 13,000 people a year. I think it's a huge public safety issue. It's because of the rhetoric, the hateful rhetoric. So that small population out there that's already half nuts, they hear this rhetoric that ICE is racist and they're Nazis and they're disappearing people, that empowers them to do stupid things.
Let me ask you, because we're almost out of time, I do want to give you the opportunity to respond to some lingering questions about you. As you know, in an undercover operation in 2024, the FBI recorded you accepting a bag which was determined to contain $50,000 from agents posing as business executives who said you indicated you could help win government contracts in the second Trump administration. I want to stress there was an investigation. It was closed last year. The Justice Department said it found, quote, no credible evidence of any criminal wrongdoing. I do want to give you an opportunity to respond, though, Mr. Homan. Where is that $50,000? Did you keep it or did you return it?
I didn't take $50,000 from anybody. And that's
Where's my fucking money, motherfucker?
Bottom line, I did nothing illegal. I did nothing, in the FBI and DOJ review this. No credible evidence I did anything, because I didn't do anything illegal.
But was there $50,000 in the bag, and did you return it?
I'm not giving the story anymore.
Thanks for tapping in from Russia. Appreciate the love, man.
And my professionalism, I'm not addressing it. But that's a question with the FBI.
Can you address, given that it's been recorded, did you keep the money? Did you return the money?
I did not keep any. $50,000 is ridiculous. The FBI has been clearing this, you know, and it irritates me. This story keeps going on and on and on, even though I've been found to do nothing inappropriate. So I'm not going to ask any more of these questions.
But just, did you return the money?
I didn't have any money to return.
Okay.
I didn't take the $50,000, bottom line.
Let me ask you, you're saying you did nothing unlawful. Would you be comfortable with the FBI releasing?
Appreciate you, boss.
That's a decision of the FBI.
But it might be a decision for the FBI, but would you be comfortable if they released
Again, I'm not getting ahead of the FBI in this investigation.
But can you just say, on a personal level, would you be comfortable releasing the recordings?
I am not going to get ahead of the FBI. That's their decision.
Okay. All right. Mr. Homan, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
We greatly appreciate it.
Now, he's never going to answer that $50,000 question. A lot of people will say, you know what, hey, yeah, I'm close to the congressman. We'll help get you contracts. People may boost it up on the bullshit. That's not uncommon. But to take the money from a secret undercover investigator and then have the case drop, you know, Trump already cussed his ass out like, bro, what the fuck is you doing? Are you for real? Now, somebody did comment about Representative Omar, Ilhan Omar, and wanted to go to an interview she had with Face the Nation earlier today, earlier Sunday at least. Again, if it's first time here, make sure you like and subscribe. I am your boy, the Hip Hop Lobbyist. Thank everybody who's tapped in and held through for the stream tonight. I appreciate y'all, man.
We're joined now by Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, who represents a large portion of that city. It's good to have you here.
I represent the whole city.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. The Trump administration is actively telling the public that journalists are misleading them. You heard what was just reported from the scene. What we know is that Renee Macklin-Good and her partner were protesters. They were driving around Minneapolis. They were recording what some of these ICE enforcement officers were doing. And the local police chief says Macklin-Good blocked the street with her car. President Trump has said that the partner was a paid agitator. That's the phrase he used. Secretary Noem alleged this was an act of terrorism. Given how much heat there is and the administration's scrutiny, would you tell Americans it's too dangerous to demonstrate and to go out and document as she was doing?
I think it is really important for Americans to record, to create the level of accountability and transparency that we need. What we have seen in Minneapolis is ICE agents oftentimes jumping out of their cars. These are unmarked cars. Oftentimes they're wearing a mask. They're approaching, running towards cars. They're pulling people out of those cars. Oftentimes these people are citizens. Oftentimes these people have documentation of their legal right to be in this country. And we know that DHS has lied repeatedly when it comes to these accounts. So it is even more important for there to be recording from eyewitnesses every single time these actions are taking place.
But do you see from the recordings that we see, is there anything that you believe was being done that should not have been done by Macklin-Good? The administration says she was blocking the road. They are claiming this is an act of terrorism.
Yeah, Renee Nicole Good, as you hear her say, she's not mad. She's sitting in her car, peacefully waving cars to get by. This agent, as you see, gets out of his car, automatically starts running towards her, trying to open her door. She feels scared. She tries to turn the wheel away, and then you see the other officer, who can clearly see the car is moving, move towards the front of the car, which, if they are saying that he has 10 years on service and is trained, he should know that you shouldn't be trying to get in front of a moving car. And so it is not acceptable for Kristi Noem and the president and the vice president to make these kind of judgments without there being a full investigation, even though we can see in the videos that have been produced so far that what they are describing is really not what is taking place. And so if they're saying that we shouldn't believe our eyes, then let the investigation take place before you characterize this mother of three as a domestic terrorist. Prove to us what documentation you have that, one, that she was paid, two, that she was agitating when we can hear her say she's not mad, she's not upset. She's clearly trying to wave cars to bypass her. And so it's just this level of rhetoric is unjustifiable to the American people.
Just quickly on that, you said accountability, and it's important for people to document what's happening. I just want to be abundantly clear, because the administration says that their officers are being stalked and harassed. When you say accountability, you are only describing recording like she was doing?
Yeah, I think it is fair for citizens to document what law enforcement is doing in their communities.
Against some of these agents as well.
Well, there's also been violence against residents in Minneapolis.
There right now is a lot of heat on your state. Treasury Secretary Bessent called Minnesota ground zero for what may be the most egregious welfare scam in our nation's history.
Oh, there we go.
85 of the 98 people who were charged by the Justice Department with this welfare scheme are Somali. And you know this. The Treasury Secretary is probing whether any of the money was somehow funneled outside the country. He actually issued new standards. He's going to make it make someone disclose if they receive public assistance when they try to wire money out of the country, and he's lowered the bar for suspicious activity. What is the practical impact of doing that in the community?
It's just creating fear. What they are doing is creating confusion, chaos, trying to intimidate people from being able to exercise their regular, normal activities that they would. There is no justification in any of the things that they say. The 87 people that you've described as being investigated, many of them adjudicated, all happened under the Biden administration. There is no justification for this search. We know that ICE has the ability to conduct raids. Yeah. There is no reason to have over 2,000 people coming in to our city and creating the level of terror that they have created.
Well, the administration argues that they have to do it because the state failed to, right?
The federal government and the state have been working peacefully together and have brought justice to these 87 people that you've described. None of the search that they have conducted has produced any sort of criminal activity. They haven't been able to charge anyone as of yet.
Well, the administration also announced they're going to cut food stamps to Minnesota because they say some of the food stamp money had been embezzled here. Are you
and those are the things that are
that
being litigated, and it is, again, unconstitutional for them to do so.
Are you confident that the fraud that has been discovered is no longer being conducted now? Is there any justification for saying this food stamp money is somehow being misused?
Yeah, there are ways to investigate fraud, which we have been doing in Minnesota, which the federal government has been doing under the Biden administration. There is no reason for them to use this level of rhetoric. There is no reason for them to fully stop the funding these programs. The only reason they are doing that is for PR purposes, and it is harming our state, it is harming my constituents, and it is creating the kind of chaos and confusion that no one needs in this moment.
Because the administration and many conservative allies of the administration argue that this is still ongoing. There was that conservative influencer who went out and posted this video that went viral alleging that daycare facilities were pocketing public funds.
Yeah, and as you know, he went hours where these businesses were not operating.
Yep, CBS went out and did its own
again
investigation.
creates the level of confusion and chaos that is not necessary in a moment when we are trying to deal with a serious problem that needs serious people to be able to address it.
But do you think there was no recorded evidence of fraud according to the CBS investigation?
No, baby, soundboard, baby.
Conducted, but Governor Walz did choose to not run for re-election. He dropped out of the race because of all of this.
Because he wants to focus on defending our state and not defending a seat.
Do you think there has been a sufficient level of accountability and ownership of the failure to have oversight here? Do you think this ends?
That is what we want. We want to collaboratively work with the administration to try to make sure that there is no fraud that's being perpetuated on our state. What we do not want is the level of terror, of confusion, of chaos that is being created without any results in this moment.
Very quickly, before I let you go, the Chair Oversight Committee said that he wants to refer you to the Ethics Committee.
I've been referred like 100 times, so
he's looking at your husband's income and net worth. He said it was tied to private equity investment funds, but he seems to be insinuating that you personally are tied into this welfare scam. How do you respond to that?
Ever since I've gotten to Congress, they have been doing these sort of weird ethics investigations. None of them have yielded anything because I have been as transparent as I can be, and there is nothing wrong with any documentation that I have ever provided to the federal government.
Congresswoman Omar, thank you for joining us today.
Now, I know the Congresswoman has been catching hell, especially after Nick Sorda's video, and I think his credibility is kind of shot because you can see it was really a hit piece, but that's not this. We let that slide too. We're going to get back to what we already did. Jerome Powell could take that down. Did Tom. AOC. Now, actually, sorry. I had this queued up. My bad. I didn't cover the Minnesota shooting, to be real. But I did see the officer piece of it. And I think the conversation around how this all happened, we can kind of piece it together for this conversation.
Latest on what's happening.
Gonna jump into this Fox News piece, keeping it, you know, fair and balanced, bipartisan for what it is. But let's check out what a part of this video is so we can kind of get it if you haven't seen it so far.
There. Garrett, good afternoon.
Yeah, Trace, good afternoon. This new video will be a crucial piece of evidence in this investigation because it was recorded by the agent himself, and it shows the events leading up to the shooting from his point of view. Here is that entire video.
Let me make sure y'all can see it. I'm gonna put my vertical people. Appreciate y'all's patience. Let's get to it.
It's okay, we don't change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen. You want to come at us? You want to come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out of the car. Get out of the car. Get out of the car.
Oh shit. Yeah, that's kind of wild. Let's go back. Hold on. I ain't trying to see the whole shooting. But let me know your thoughts in the chat. Was she tripping? I say yes. From this perspective, yes.
It's okay, we don't change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen.
Why is she so aggressive? I get it, but why?
You want to come at us? You want to come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Like, I get it. I support the LGBTQIA movement, right? A lot of people don't know the IA exists. But IA plus. But I don't understand the aggression before the accident. To be fair, I don't understand that. Like, cause they call them butches. We used to call them tomboys back in the day. I'm an 80s baby, raised in the 90s. Tomboys wasn't like this back in the 90s. They wasn't this aggressive.
Out of the car. Get out of the
Get out the car and look what you're doing. You're going in the car. You're trying to open the door. Turn the wheel. Like, bro, you for real? I can't. Come on. Come on. It's hard to watch. That's crazy. Because a part of me is thinking, I wouldn't do that shit. I don't understand. I don't understand it. I don't understand it, y'all. Let's see what ALC has to say about it.
Can we get you down here, Congressman?
I'd have to, I mean, I take a look at it, but I think
Congresswoman, what's your response to Vice President Vance yesterday saying the Minnesota shooting was a tragedy of her own making?
I understand that Vice President Vance believes that shooting a young mother of 3 in the face 3 times is an acceptable America that he wants to live in, and I do not.
I'm gonna go back to this real quick. Hold on. I'm not justifying anybody being shot in the face. I'm just going back to this. I'm gonna have this queued up. Hold on. Right, so we can go back to it.
And that is a fundamental difference between Vice President Vance and I. I do not believe that the American people should be assassinated in the street. Thank you.
I don't prescribe to the just abide, right? To be fair. But I wouldn't do this shit. Right? Because as a parent, as a father, I want to come back to my child. As a husband, I want to come back to my wife. As an overall person, like, you know what? If this goes too far, how do I make sure I'm coming back to my domicile? Okay, officer, when we get out of the car, get out of the car. Take me in, I'll bail out. I'll be home tonight. Maybe tomorrow. Cool. I'm not losing my life over no bullshit. Especially no ICE protests.
We don't change our plates every
But to the
morning,
AOC point,
just so you know.
mother of 3.
It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen.
U.S. citizen, bitch, yeah. Motherfucker.
You want to come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out of the car.
Get out the car. ICE pulled up, said to get out the car. What does she do? Go try to open the door, turn the wheel. I'm being fair and in the middle here. How many mothers of three out there are gonna do the necessity to not see their children that night? That's the part that's like, you gotta think, you're grown, you're 40 now. I can't act like a 15, 16, 17-year-old. It's like, damn, these motherfuckers ain't playing. That's crazy to me. Let's get back to AOC.
The Vice President has planning to use the power of the purse to sort of rein in DHS and all in the wake of this Minnesota shooting.
I would hope so. I think that this Congress exploded ISIS budget to, I believe, the tune of $170 billion additional dollars, making it one of, by and away, the largest paramilitary force in the United States, with no rules, with virtually no restraints, and as we have seen, are now carrying out extrajudicial killings in the street. So I would hope that that is not the America that we want to live in.
Go back. Let's go back. Killings in the street, but let's go back. I'm not even gonna go back that far. Get yourself some lunch, big boy. Who is doing this as a mother of three? Any law enforcement officer is gonna kill your ass if you try to hit them with a car. An average person gonna take that 2A out on your ass if you try to hit them with a car. This is the part where I have to be honest with Democrats. To be like, you know what? Yes, I can have reference for life. I'm so sorry this lady lost her life and the kids, everything, right? It's a soundboard. But also realize that there's a part of common sense in this shit. I want to go home to my family, regardless of my position and my passion for it. I don't give a fuck about the rest of it. I want to come back to my family. And I don't think that what AOC's saying matches this video.
You want to come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out of the car. Get out of the car. Get out of the car. Oh!
This is where Democrats get lost. Cop. Hold on, shoot. No, she wasn't trying to hit that cop. She had her wheels turned to the right. Yeah, but he was walking right in front of the damn car. Go to the parking lot. Go to a parking lot and do the same shit. You gonna hit somebody, they're gonna hit you with the 2A.
The president, in an interview with the New York Times, said that the only thing that would constrain his power as commander-in-chief is his own morality. What do you think of a comment like that?
I mean, it shows the danger that we are in and the necessity for us to have a Congress that is willing to rein in the president's power, as well as the necessity for the Supreme Court to be able to rein in the president's power as well. Now, we have a Republican majority that has...
Y'all saying that she didn't turn the wheel that way? I don't know. I saw what I saw. Let's go back for the chat. Let's watch the wheel. He's on the right side of the car. The other officer coming from the other side. Okay. I can be fair and say she was trying to avoid him because he was walking in front of the car. I can be fair from that angle. But they ain't buying that shit because she should have listened just to buy these motherfuckers be saying, bro. Anytime it's a black person in this shit, I'm gonna tell you now, anytime a black person getting jacked up by the police, you know what the motherfuckers be saying in the comments? Just abide. The fuck you mean?
has decided to completely
They masked. Cool. They got everything on to look like damn law enforcement to me.
Indicate its power to the president. I think it is right.
To me.
It's up to the American people
Reverence
to
for life.
ensure
I'm sorry she took her
that we
life
take
was lost.
away power from those who do not use it well.
Can I ask for a moment about Democratic leaders on both sides, Leader Schumer and Jeffries, when I press them about ICE and even Venezuela, they seem reluctant in this funding round to do anything on ICE or Venezuela because it seems as though
I'm missing footage. I'm gonna pull some up. I haven't seen it all, to be
Do
fair.
you get that sense, and do you think that's a mistake by them?
No, I mean, listen, we have a caucus that that is very wide, and they're responsible for leading an entire caucus that elects members from across the country. So they're in a different position. But and whether it's this funding round or when Democrats are in the majority is a tactical decision that is up to leadership to make. But I think in the long term, what we are seeing now is that this funding of ICE, it exploded virtually overnight, and we are already seeing the ramifications of it in terms of the abuse of power that is happening, as well as the fact that ICE doesn't even meet the level of rigor that your local police department has to meet in terms of ethics and in terms of rules and regulations that they have to abide by.
To the chat real quick. Yeah, my friends in law enforcement have told me that there are some trigger happy guys out there. The trigger happy guys were like, hey, I'm ready to shoot somebody. Not cool. But then there's a part of, motherfucker circled around your car, talk to you, I'm cool. You're getting chastised, accosted by the wife, whatever, right? Go grab lunch, big boy. He said, get out the car. I don't understand. Cause I seen KNWE Groves die for doing less. You feel me? Alton Sterling type shit, doing less, getting killed. Breonna Taylor getting less, doing less and getting killed type shit. So that's why I'm sitting here like, what the fuck? Just to buy it.
You say the administration released enough of the Epstein files to your satisfaction?
Pardon?
Have you gotten enough of the Epstein files to your satisfaction?
This administration, the Trump administration, Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, Pam Bondi, are engaged in one of the greatest cover-ups that we have seen when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein and protection of people that are in power and close to power. It is horrifying. My thoughts are with the victims, but what I am encouraged by is the House Oversight Committee's continued pursuit in their subpoenas against Lex Wexner and others, and we will continue the fight for justice for victims of these crimes. I'm sorry, I know he's got a...
Yeah, what would you say to your Republican colleagues, just the fact that they say that if these people would follow the law and not get involved with ICE and try and disrupt them collecting people who are here illegally, what would you want to tell those people?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Yeah, some of the Republican colleagues are basically saying that ICE is doing its job and that people are there to disrupt them and to stop them. What would you want to tell them?
I would not say that assassinating a young mother of 3 in the street is part of ICE's mandate. ICE specifically has a mandate that has nothing to do with going after U.S. citizens. Watch the video for yourself. You don't have to worry about the politics with me or what I'm going to say or what anyone else is going to say. Watch that video for yourself, and you will see a woman trying to back up her vehicle and leave a volatile scene. And she was met with 3 bullets to the face. You tell me, and any law enforcement officer in the country worth their salt can tell you that that is not how you handle that situation.
Now, I just found the video that released about 4 hours ago of the DHS, I guess, released the footage before. I'm going to check this out. Honestly, again, I know I'm late. I wasn't paying attention to this. I just heard about it, but I'm like, I got other shit to do. See everything I'm saying, whatever. 3 minutes on this, and the horn's aggravating this. What? 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 Yeah, I believe that. But this is whoever on that horn is doing extra bit. That's not on the horn like that. Waiting to see old girl tell her to go eat lunch type shit. Get your lunch, big boy. Alright, truck pulling up. They're trying to direct traffic around the car. They say, okay, one car went, truck went behind. The fuck she trying to back a vehicle in? I don't believe that AOC. But they ain't walk up to the car yet, but they ain't walk around the car yet. Yeah, I guess now she impeding traffic for real bit. Not a whole lot of car moving. They're reporting this from the head. Okay. They got sick of this shit. Alright, he going around the car. Now he going around the car. Now she pull up. The place ain't gonna change, bitch. Whatever. Right. Now they pull up. Now she waving people to go by. Now he comes out. Bitch, get your ass out the car. Y'all seen us down here. You beep your horn. Alright, cool. Yeah, get your lunch, big boy. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Oh shit. That's what happened. Listen. This is before. If I'm in my house and you outside on the horn like this, bitch, I'm coming outside recording shit too. I know shit's about to go down. I ain't watching this whole thing again, boy. Just watch this shit. This doesn't make any fucking sense to me. Now I'm gonna ask the chat next. Now that we've seen this from another angle, their perspective may have changed on this shit. Now mind you, the law enforcement officers are down the way. They're down the street, as y'all can see over there. Right? This is a person driving through there. Look like I actually got the windows down. They're reversing. But a bitch is on the horn. A bitch on that horn heavy. You can't tell me there's any ice agents. Okay, cool. You can look. You see the ice agents. She was antagonizing the fuck out of the police. And as a neighbor, this is annoying as shit. Who is this bitch outside on the motherfucking horn? AOC's, whatever she said is debunked, right? To be fair, I'm not saying this lady should have lost her life about none of this shit. She should have dragged her ass out of that motherfucking car. But she should not have turned that wheel. Because if you notice this shit, this is what I noticed. She's parked here, right? She's here. That means she's moved her car back and forth this whole time with no officers down there. All right, let me move this a little bit. She's moved her car with no officers down there, as you see. Because she's parked. And I know this ain't no crime TV type channel. But you see, okay, she's parked for where her truck is. Right? Now, the video can go back on her in a second. Look. She's parked in the middle of the street. So one of two things happen here, y'all. Let's be for real. Either she was parked there, moving back and forth, or she was parked there and didn't fucking move. And she probably didn't fucking move till the officer got close. So of course, when she turned the fucking wheel and moved the car, what the fuck the officer thinking? This bitch ain't moved the whole time. She been on her horn the whole time. What the fuck else she trying to do besides kill the fucking officer who just ran up on her shit? Come on now. We're gonna watch it again. Am I tripping? Okay, now traffic moving. You seen all the ICE officers getting in their car. You've been in the street. Let's go back a minute, 2 minutes. ICE officers there. Do they show her here? And for a bitch to start recording. Hold on, wait. Now mind you, again. On some troll shit, that's funny. But you antagonize these motherfuckers. Till they drove down there. They decided to drive down. Let's see if she moved the car. Again. She hasn't moved the car the whole time. That truck went around her. That must be when Buddy hopped out with the phone. Okay, the truck went around her. Everybody know what them fucking horns is. Okay, cool. There's enough motherfuckers out here. There's enough people. Cool. Now she moved the car. She backed the, oh, this is somebody backing that car up. No, you weren't trying to move now. You let the car go through. Cool, I'm gonna stop blocking traffic. Then I'm gonna put, oh, she was moving the car. Okay, the car was already moving. Is she waving people? Oh, that's the officer. Oh, man, go through. No, fuck that bitch. We mad if you sit on the horn. What? Get out of the car, get out of the car. Get some lunch, big boy. Get out of the car, get out of the car. Oh, she moving. This last part, I just gotta see again. I don't know. I wasn't trying to talk this shit. Get out of the car, get out of the car. You ain't moved really that. She backed, I don't know. Looked like she was reversing instead of going forward. It looked like she was reversing instead of going forward. But she was being an ass. Rest in peace. I apologize. But that's absolutely crazy. Senator Rand Paul. Absolutely crazy. I don't technically I didn't see the shooting. But it's just kind of crazy still. Senator Rand Paul. We'll get to this. I thought it was interesting. He's always been a thorn in the side of President Trump. And now Venezuela, he realized it's not just about Venezuela. Now, I didn't say too much about this, but I thought about it. About the 30 million, 50 million gallons a year we're going to be getting from Venezuela, right? They got big oil. Cool. I really think it's about AI. I think that the issue they're having is the refining of the crude oil from Venezuela is too heavy, not like other countries. Cool. I think between now and 2030, 2032, which is the big AI crush, right? That's a bigger thing. Meta, Microsoft, Google, Oracle. That's what they're really focused on. 2030, 2032 with these carbon gas combustion turbines, right? To be fair. So now they're to a point of saying, all right, cool. They're going to need more gas. They know that the energy bill is going to be there. So it's like, okay, cool. If they get more oil and crude oil and be able to refine this, maybe they can offset whatever the fuck is going to be currently in reserve for AI. So AI is not burning through all the gas and all the rest of the shit they need. Just my theory. We'll see if it holds true. But let's get into Rand Paul about the war in Venezuela.
Republican Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky, a member of the Foreign Relations Committee. Good morning to you, Senator. Really pretty alarming images coming out of Iran this morning. And the president saying he is backing those protesters and that he will hit them hard where it hurts. Does this concern you?
Well, you know, we've had various times.
I don't want to see too much of a chat, to be real.
Iran. We're always hopeful that, you know, a freedom movement will develop and overwhelm the authoritarian government there. The only problem I have with saying, oh, we're going to bomb Iran is that sometimes it has the opposite effect. So when you bomb a country, then people tend to rally around their own flag. They tend to see this is the, you know, a foreign country coming in and bombing us. And so I don't think it always has that effect. I wish, you know, the same as the president. I want success. I hope that the freedom movement survives. I hope that the Iranian government, you know, doesn't kill the protesters, but it sounds like they already have. But I don't know that bombing Iran will have the effect that is intended.
And what about those threats of bombing right now and what you heard from the Ayatollah there? I don't think I have ever heard a president say they may take military action to protect protesters. Certainly with Soleimani, when the Trump administration hit him, there were massive protests against America, but they are shouting death to the Ayatollah. Do we owe it to those protesters, do you believe, to help them?
Well, I think we wish them the best. We wish freedom and liberation the best across the world. But I don't think it's the job of the American government to be involved with every freedom movement around the world. And I do believe that bombing them may have the opposite. It's like, how do you drop a bomb in the middle of a crowd or a protest and protect the people there? If you bomb the government, do you then rally people to their flag who are upset with the Ayatollah, but then say, well, gosh, we can't have a foreign government invading or bombing our country, it tends to have people rally to the cause. So I think the protests are directed at the Ayatollah, justifiably so. And the best way is to encourage them and say that, of course, we would recognize a government that is a freedom-loving government that allows free elections, but bombing's not the answer. Plus, there is this sticking point of the Constitution that we don't really let presidents bomb countries just when they feel like it. They're supposed to ask the people through the Congress for permission.
And to that point, let's turn to Venezuela. The Senate narrowly advanced the war powers legislation that you co-sponsored, requiring President Trump to seek congressional approval if he goes bombs in Venezuela or elsewhere. Even if it passes, it seems very unlikely that Trump would sign it. Is there anything else that you would like to see Congress do?
You know, this is a big debate, probably one of the most important debates we have in Congress. This isn't new, and I've told the president, frankly, it isn't about President Trump per se or solely. It's about really a struggle between the legislature and the president and who has the power. Our founding fathers were unanimous, from Hamilton to Jefferson, that they placed that power to initiate or declare war in Congress because they wanted less war. They were tired of the perpetual wars of Europe between the royal families. They were tired of having too much power concentrated in the monarch. So they divided that power up. And that's what the founding fathers wanted. And then some people say, well, Congress is so feckless. They would never know how to get us started in war. But when we were attacked at Pearl Harbor and when we were attacked at 9/11, the vote by Congress was nearly unanimous. It's been when the dictate towards war or the reasons for war were less clear, like Iraq, that the votes was closer. And it turns out that, you know, many of us think the Iraq war was a mistake,
and
including
Senator,
President Trump. So,
Senator, I want your reaction to what happened with Venezuela this week, meeting with the oil executives, and what you have heard President Trump talk about in terms of Venezuela. There's right now, Americans are being told not to travel there. It's very dangerous, that gangs are going to kidnap them. So your reaction to that?
you know, my hope is for a free and a transformation to freedom and free elections in Venezuela. As far as oil companies coming back in, one thing they have to consider is the level of chaos that's still there, the amount of money that it would take, and also the memory that socialism didn't begin with Maduro or Chavez. Socialism began really with Perez in the early 1970s. They naturalized the oil companies in 76. So the ideas of socialism and nationalization are long held in Venezuela, and there are definitely risks. I hope our oil companies will go in, but it's not the job of the U.S. government to secure contracts or guarantee contracts. That would be individual private companies determining that it's safe enough and that it's a good risk for their capital.
Exactly,
and just quickly, if I can get you on Greenland, you said this week you'll do everything to stop any kind of military takeover of Greenland. The White House said that was not off the table. But do you actually think he would use military force, or are we overreacting to that?
Who knows?
I would hope not. But let's say you wanted to buy Greenland, and I'm not disputing that that might be something we might want to buy Greenland. That's right. You get there by angering and denigrating the people who live there and saying, we're going to march the Marines in and take it if you don't sell it to us. It doesn't make them very willing sellers. So really, if your goal is somehow we're going to rattle the saber and then they're going to sell it to us, I think it's having the opposite effect. I think you'd be hard-pressed to find someone in Greenland for it, but you'd also be hard-pressed to find somebody in Washington who's for a military invasion on either side of the aisle.
You say a lot of tricky words.
The issue is, November 2024, the people didn't vote to take over Greenland. The people were worried about the borders, immigrants coming to take their jobs. That's what y'all kept telling them. The price of groceries, the price of gas, the price of all the other stuff. And now AI is taking jobs. What is it, 600,000, 300,000 black women or women have lost their jobs this year to AI? People have lost their jobs to automation. The port people said automation was taking their jobs, and that's what they worried about. Now all of a sudden, we're talking about Venezuela and fucking Greenland. People didn't vote for this shit. Nobody in Kentucky voted for this Rand Paul. What are we even talking about? Oh, China and Russia trying to take over Greenland. Have you been to Greenland? I've seen it on the map. The shit looks cold. I don't want to go. They can have that shit, but I don't understand why we would want to go buy another country when we're already trillions of dollars in debt. Make sure you like and subscribe.
Stop it. But the problem is they keep rattling the saber. They keep saying, we're going to do this. We keep this in our armamentarium that we will reserve the right to invade Greenland. And that gets back to the War Powers Act. That's why this debate's so important, because it's not just about Venezuela. It's about Venezuela. It's about Greenland. It's about Colombia. It's about Cuba. It's about whether or not the people get a say in whether we go to war.
Okay.
That's very true. I don't think people signed up for war, regardless of how you feel about ICE, everything else. I'm going to jump to CNN. They had the Minnesota mayor basically saying that Kristi Noem and ICE are making the city feel unsafe, less safe. We'll see.
Joining us now to respond, Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey and Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hare. Mayor Frey, your response to what you just heard from Secretary Noem, she invoked you by name.
That was some wild and crazy stuff. It sounds like she doesn't believe a single word that she is saying right now. And
that's crazy.
I don't know if Donald Trump was drinking a glass of water, if she'd actually be able to speak, because here's the thing, she's calling Minneapolis like this dystopian hellhole. You know how many shootings we've had so far this year? 2. And one of them was ICE. 2 shootings in a large city so far this entire year, and one of them is ICE. This is a safe city. ICE and Kristi Noem and everything they're doing is making it far less safe.
I want you to respond to what she said about you telling ICE to get the F out. She says you and the leaders in Minneapolis have been demonizing ICE officers. And it is true that you've been critical of Secretary Noem for her quick characterization of the incident. But you also said on Wednesday, quote, this was a federal agent recklessly using power that resulted in somebody dying. Does your rhetoric need to change?
Yeah, I said this was a federal agent recklessly using power that ended up in somebody dying, because that was a federal agent recklessly using power that ended up in somebody dying. It's exactly what happened. I mean, am I biased in this? Of course, and I'm biased because I got 2 eyes. Anybody can see these videos. Anybody can see that this victim is not a domestic terrorist. I mean, my goodness, she's like doing a 3 or a 4 or 5 point turn.
She's not, though. She's sitting on a horn in the middle of the street antagonizing ICE until they started moving cars down the street, and then she moved her car. Now, to be fair, in all that points of them making that turn, the 3-point turn, no, I'm not buying that, because the truck, the gold truck, if you remember, we can go back to it, he went behind her to get to that position to hop out of his car and basically pull out his phone, right? So she knew what the fuck was going on. However, I do feel after watching it again, when they were telling her to get out the car, she didn't get the hell out the car, just to buy it, as they tell the black folks, right? Cool. The issue really ends up being, I do believe she was trying to reverse. Now that I've looked at that again and seen her car go back instead of forward where the officer was, I do think maybe she was trying to reverse. But they did tell her to get out the car. And they're using that 6-month story as a crutch. Oh, it's too much.
This looks like somebody that's trying to get out of there. If doing a 3-point turn or a 4-point turn is a domestic terrorist, and my wife is a criminal every single day, it does not make sense.
That's the politics that doesn't make sense there, Mayor. To be real. Because when you go watch the video again, just to make sure it matches with the narrative, right? I want to make sure I'm not full of shit. Right? Not that one. Hold on, I got a lot of videos open here. Clearly, which one of these motherfuckers I had in the open? I can't find it. Right? Y'all seen it already. Sorry about that. She wasn't making a 4-point turn. A minute and a half before that, she was sitting in the middle of the fucking street beeping her damn horn. Let's be fair.
We've got to be operating from a point of course, have this investigation. It should be a neutral, unbiased investigation where you get the facts, you know. And by the way, I shouldn't be the one conducting the investigation, nor should Kristi Noem. But you should have an entity that is able to do it with some common sense and operating in reality.
Chief, what's your reaction to the Homeland Security Secretary's claims and also just the assertion that the officer feared for his life?
Well, I got to tell you, as a matter of policy and training amongst professional police departments for many, many years in this country, we have an obligation to ensure, particularly during traffic stops, that our officers are doing everything possible so that we don't unnecessarily put their lives in jeopardy, so that our officers are not unnecessarily creating a risk of imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury, either to themselves or others. And that means that they have to employ sound tactics and must be proportional in what they do. That being said, it's not always 100%. Law enforcement officers cannot control the actions of other people, and that's why a full and thorough investigation in every case where there is a use of force is necessary. I will be the first one to stand up for my cops when a situation happens and it is abundantly clear that there's no indication to think that an officer could have possibly done anything else. I'll be the first one to stand up and say, my cop put their lives on the line and they did what they have to do, and I have no reason to think that it wasn't anything other than our policy and lawful. But I think, we have to use caution, even as Tom Homan has said, and allow a full and impartial investigation to proceed.
Mayor Fry, the police union in Minnesota released a statement that says in part, quote, the hateful and anti-law enforcement rhetoric by Mayor Fry and other politicians have made their jobs and those of local and state law enforcement more difficult and dangerous. The job of law enforcement is difficult and dangerous enough without the agitation by leaders in our state and communities, unquote. Do you think that you could bring down your rhetoric? Do you think you should?
Hang on a second. I support our law enforcement. Our police officers in Minneapolis are doing an incredible job. I am so proud to work with them. I was the guy, by the way, that stood up against defunding the police back when it was hard 5 years ago. And these honorable officers that have stayed and that have come on have been incredible. By the way, community members that have traditionally been pretty critical of law enforcement officers are supporting our police. They have kept people safe. They have done right. They have abided by the Constitution, which is a massive juxtaposition against what we've seen from some of these ICE agents. And yeah, no, they have my support. So, I mean, as far as my position vis-a-vis law enforcement, no, we're there with them.
Well, that's not me. It's the Minnesota Police Union saying that your rhetoric agitates these protesters.
Look, I can't speak for the police union. I certainly never will. But I will speak for myself. And I am grateful for the work of police officers in our city, especially over the last several days. I mean, these servants are tired. They're working tirelessly. They're drastically, by the way, outnumbered by the number of ICE agents and beyond that we have in our city right now, and they deserve our full-throated support.
Mayor, what would you say to somebody who says, look, these ICE agents, they're also law enforcement. They're doing a job that they were sent to do by President Trump and Secretary Noem. They're not there because they want to be there. They're there because they were told to be there. And if people have an issue with it,
that's true.
They shouldn't be protesting the ICE agents. They should be protesting outside the White House.
Well, I think that's probably a fair point in that, look, of course you need to enforce laws, of course, but there's also a requirement that you carry out laws and carry out enforcement in a constitutional way. And what we've seen is that people are being plucked off the street indiscriminately. I take that back. There's discrimination only to the extent that they are Latino or they are Somali, and then it feels indiscriminate thereafter. We've got pregnant women getting dragged through the street. We've got high schoolers just getting, American citizens, by the way, getting taken away. And so, yeah, I think it's a fair point to say, well, these ICE agents are being put in a horrible position because they're asked to do things that are not legal or are unconstitutional. But here's the thing. They're still doing them, and we are still dealing with the repercussions here in this city. Minneapolis has been on this glorious, amazing comeback. And this is just setting us back because we've got to deal with it. And so, no, look, Minneapolis, we're going to get through this. We had 10,000 or something people protest peacefully yesterday. We have thousands and hundreds of thousands of people that are standing up for their neighbors right now. We have people that are not taking the bait of this Trump administration because they all know, we know, they're looking for any excuse to come in with greater force and occupy our city. We're grinning down this bear. We are doing right by our city and the people in it, and we're not backing down.
That's all the time I have. I have a weekday show every day.
We ain't pumping that. I barely watch CNN. But Because, you know, piss people off is domestic terrorist thing. Now, I'm going to pull this video back up that we had on the stream earlier. So people, we can see it again. And I know that y'all say she went forward. Now, this is a 3-minute video. As, again, you'll hear the horn is popping. That's the lady, right? Cool. As you'll see as they pan this camera down. They were sitting there like, all right, cool. Who the hell's on the horn? Right? You see the ICE officers, all these guys out here masked up on parked cars. Alright, cool. There's a part of it that says, you know what, why they got masks on. ICE officers, why they wearing masks. But also a fact of, in some of these areas where it snows a lot, you can wear a shiesty. That's what we're talking about. This is who the mayor was saying was making the 3-4 point turn. She could have made and finished that 3 or 4 point turn 100 times by now. If you notice again, that gold SUV isn't behind her. Right? Go back. You see it? The gold SUV isn't behind her yet. So that's the officer's SUV. They sitting around her. She's not making a 4 point turn. I get it. 2 people died in Minnesota. This is the second one. Not cool. But it's a fact of saying that narrative is bullshit. Because if you look at 2 minutes before the officers got there, she was sitting in the streets beeping her fucking horn. I'm not saying she was justified for being killed. Yes, it was murder. You could lay it out there. Anybody dying is murder. Is it a justified murder or not? It's a related question, right? I say no. They could have broke the fucking window and drug her ass out the fucking car. But for some odd reason, she decided to sit in the fucking car and beep her horn for 2 minutes before the fucking cops got there. Now, I'm not saying this to be that guy. I'm not making it about race, but I'm going to be real with you. Alton Sterling, Breonna Taylor, Philando Castile, all these niggas got killed for less. KNW Negroes. I apologize. They told me to stop saying Negroes. Okay? You can antagonize the police to an extent. This shit was just straight aggravating because your neighbors decided to open up their windows and record what the fuck was going on. Who the hell is sitting on their horn in the fucking street? So let's finish watching this. We got 52 seconds. People walking down. Right? ICE officers, they're talking people out with their cameras. Okay. You know it's ICE. Right? That's another car I want to say. Was that her? No, that wasn't her. Because, no, they didn't pan back to her. She couldn't have got back down the car. I don't know why they're not showing the car again. They're walking one-way streets. See, this is the dude that pulled behind her. This is the truck that pulled behind her. Right? Watch. This is the truck that pulled behind her. They're walking up to the motherfucker. 3-point turn? Okay. 3-point turn. She should have been able to finish that 3 or 4 point turn by now, Mayor. To be fair. Where's that 3 or 4 point turn at? Where's the 3 or 4 point turn at? When she just sitting in the fucking street. It's murder. Yes, I'm not saying it's not murder. She was murdered. But just like stand your ground, is it justified murder or not? That's going to be a question because they're going to put this in court. And then and that's another thing. See, watch the truck. She beeping a horn. 4 point turn. Mayor, where's the 4 point turn at? Is she reversing? She's not going to reverse into the truck. Truck goes around her. She's like, oh yeah, she was waving traffic by. You see the video? She's waving traffic by. She was sitting in the fucking street for 2 minutes peeping the fucking horn. This is where he cops out with the cell phone video. You feel me? So I move my truck behind you. You don't move your fucking car. You haven't done a 5-point, 4-point turn, 3-point turn on this shit in 45 seconds. You haven't moved the fucking car. I'm not saying the justified. I'm not saying it was justified, but you know what happened. So she reversed here. Cool, buddy's going around the car. We talked about this. This is the other wife. This is when she pulled up on him. Hey, those license plates aren't changing. Those license plates aren't going to change. That's what you get out of the video from the police officer with the cell phone, right? Because he was detailing the shit for what it is. The plates aren't going to change. We're American citizens. We're American citizens. All the rest of the shit. He goes around the car. She's moving the car. Move the car forward. Hey, wave, going back. No, get the fuck out of the car. You didn't get a sandwich, big boy. Get the fuck out of the car. Get the fuck out of the car. What I seen, she reversed. I didn't see anything else after that. I haven't seen the rest of the video. I don't want to see somebody die. It's not normal for me to see people lose life. I don't think it is for any of us. And social media has made it so normal with it. It's like, damn, yeah, she got shot in the face. Like, it's cool. It's not. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. But I'm not buying the narrative. It's unfortunate. But a mother of 3 getting back to her kids wouldn't have had no motherfucking time to go protest no damn ICE. Okay? We got ballet, we got basketball, we got soccer, we got shit to do. I'm sorry. I make every effort to come back to my kid. A bitch ain't gonna make me so mad in the street I ain't coming home. You know we never gonna have a stream without my girl Jasmine Crockett. We gonna clock it.
Clock it.
With Jasmine Crockett. So we're gonna catch up on this from last week. From the House Judiciary Committee. About keeping violent criminals off our streets. We're gonna do this and we may wrap up after this, y'all. Appreciate y'all tapping in.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good to be with you from the break. I want to follow up on my colleague from Colorado who was following up on my question. You were in here for about 10 minutes and I tried to subpoena Pam Bondi because she hasn't appeared in front of this committee. She's the only one in the cabinet who has not appeared in the House yet. And so I was told that's out of order. Before the break, you said that she'd be coming in January at a previous hearing, and now she's coming in February, which is fine. So I printed out the calendar of February, and I just figured, like, while we're here, we could just get it on our calendar. So
February 11th.
She's coming the 11th.
That's my understanding.
Perfect. Excellent. The 11th. Perfect. So, by the way, since you're on a roll, should I print out the other months so we can know when Noam is coming as well? Because the Homeland Security Secretary has always come at least once in front of Judiciary a term. So she's not going to come in February. I'll print March, April, May, June, July, August, September.
Print all you want.
You gotta love Jared Moskowitz. Certified asshole. Gotta love him. Shout out to Jared.
We'll work on getting the appropriate cabinet officials in front of the committee. We've had the director of the FBI. We will have the Attorney General in, 4 weeks. We will do our oversight like we're supposed to do our oversight.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate it. I didn't expect to get that answer. I was going to go a lot longer, but you saw the calendar and you just spit out the 11th.
When Mr. Neguse asked earlier, I knew it was early February. I just didn't know which day. We've been negotiating with when we can make it work. Their schedule, our schedule, when we're in hearings, when you're not shutting down the government.
Now I know the key.
Now we know it's the 11th.
Now I know the key how to get stuff out of you. I just got to whip out a calendar and all of a sudden.
Whip out a calendar, put a yellow tie on it.
Will the gentleman yield? Perhaps we could get the gentleman's commitment not to shut down the government in February.
Oh, shit.
Did those talking points go out to all of you this morning? Like, did everyone get the same talking point this morning?
No, it's just a fact.
We're back to the government shutdown? I mean, the American people. It
was your government shutdown that prevented
more garbage.
The appearance of the Attorney General before this committee.
Look, I can do it too. Why did you?
It would be nice to get your commitment not to do that again.
American people. I can do it too. Why did you take health care away from the American people? You invaded Venezuela, so we stopped talking about affordability. I mean, I can do this too, guys.
Damn.
Mr. Musk,
I'll end it.
Clock it.
I'll end my moment since the chairman gave me the 11th. So.
Well, you can yield to the. It's your time.
Sure,
you can yield if you
I'll
want.
yield. I will
Okay.
yield to Ms. Crockett.
Okay,
These
thank you so
committee
much.
hearings be fun for real, y'all.
There's a lot of conversation about shutdown, and I'm curious to know if you can answer just a couple of questions for me.
Oh.
Who currently controls the Senate? Who currently controls the Senate? Answer the question.
The Republican.
Thank you. Who currently controls the House?
The Republican.
So if there is.
Is this the same test that the president gets when he does the?
I think it is. I think it is. The ones that he claims that he actually passes, but nevertheless.
Damn.
So if the government shuts down again, would it be on the Democrats or the Republicans?
The people in charge, the Republicans.
Okay. I just thought that my math wasn't mathing. And then the last thing that I have for you, actually, Mr. Chairman, is there any reason that we can't get the Attorney General to come in before your January 31 deadline? Because it almost sounds like y'all are projecting that y'all are about to shut the government down, and then you will go ahead and use the excuse that we were shut down and so she couldn't get in.
We're scheduled for the 11th. She'll be here the 11th.
Oh, okay. I'll yield.
Gentlelady yields back. The gentleman from New Jersey is recognized for an amendment.
Let's go to Ms. McBath first.
We have one more speaker on the bill.
My girl,
Okay, I
let's
think the
make that.
gentlelady from Georgia, and then we'll come back to the gentlelady from Texas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'm going to actually talk about the bill. Okay, so this bill would actually defund the police, eliminate essential public safety resources from local communities, and actually punish crime victims for policy decisions over which they have no control. It is cynical, misguided, and it's wrong. Republican fear-mongering about bail is just one thing, but it's another to play partisan games with law enforcement, crime victims, and our safety. This administration has already eliminated and canceled hundreds of millions of dollars that support vital public safety functions and essential services for crime victims. But this bill goes further, weaponizing our nation's cornerstone crime-fighting program, the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant Program, also known as Byrne JAG. Law enforcement agencies across the country rely on Byrne JAG funds to fight crime. The funding reaches every state and supports every congressional district, red, blue, urban, suburban, and rural, and now that that is actually how it should be. Public safety is not partisan, as it has become here in this committee. In Georgia, Byrne JAG grants provide direct financial support to innocent victims of violent crime, including victims of sexual assault, domestic violence, and child abuse. These grants help combat elder abuse and human trafficking. They support sexual assault response teams and put the latest forensic tools in the hands of law enforcement and first responders. They fund data analysis that helps Georgia make smart, evidence-driven policy decisions around public safety, criminal justice, and victim services issues. And they support training that raises standards statewide.
What's up, Al?
That is just the tip of the iceberg. I could go on and on about the many uses of Byrne JAG funding in Georgia, which is, my district, or any other state or district in this country. Public safety matters to all Americans, and there has never been a partisan litmus test for Byrne JAG support. That's how it's supposed to work, and that's how it has worked for almost 40 years. It's a model for how the federal government can support state and local communities. But this bill would disqualify jurisdictions from receiving Byrne JAG funding if they don't fall in line with Trump's partisan agenda that is not based on fact and it's not based on truth. This bill would penalize states that have modeled their pretrial detention systems based on our federal courts, which boast an arrest rate of less than 2% for individuals arrested for a new offense while on federal pretrial supervision.
This happened Thursday.
Would even
I'm just waiting on
disqualify
the Jasmine Crockett piece,
jurisdictions where the
but
most
I ain't gonna
violent
skip through my
offenders
girl
are not
listening
eligible
back.
for bail, like in
Can't be a
federal
little
court where
boring, but
dangerous
give us
offenders
some room before
charged
we
with
go through. We
violent
may go
crimes
to
are preemptively detained.
Tucker Carlson after this.
How does any of this make sense? The American people deserve to be safe in their communities. They don't need more partisan hype. We've heard enough of the partisan hype here today already. We should be working together to support states and localities to reduce crime and hold dangerous offenders accountable. I urge my colleagues to join me in opposing H.R. 5213. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. Gentlelady from Texas recognized.
There we
Thank
go.
you so much, Mr. Chair.
And real quick, I just want you to show some members very strict about policy, very strict to the point. They're not going to show too much personality. But my girl Jasmine Crockett,
Clock it
with Jasmine Crockett. Listen, she's gonna bring some personality to it, and that's why she's running for Senate. Now I'm gonna say this, and I'll be real with you before she gets there, right? If my girl loses this primary in March, her political career is done, and I hope it's not. We got a lot more content to get, right? But either way, it's gonna be a very interesting primary race in Texas. We reach out to both parties, see if we can get them in the Lobbyist Lounge to talk with us on the stream, but we haven't heard back from them yet. We actually got turned down by Chantel Brown, the Congresswoman. I said, you know what, they wish us the best in our future endeavors, and I'll say this, whenever they decide to come back around on the show, we're going to get there eventually. I'm turning down motherfucking, she's going to be number one on my list to get turned down just because of that. So we're going to wait, and we're going to get there. But let's get to my girl Jasmine Crockett, man.
So as many of you know, I not only represent Texas, but I have obviously represented well over 1,000 people in court as it relates to criminal defense cases. And so this is something that I know a little bit about, and I don't know if y'all truly understand what it is that you put into writing, which is why we shouldn't just do knee-jerk things, and we should be very thoughtful as we are crafting legislation. So some of you may or may not know that both Texas and Tennessee are pursuing constitutional amendments to allow judges to deny bail for more violent crimes, moving beyond current limits where bail can often only be denied for capital offenses, kind of like what that ICE officer committed, because usually when you execute somebody that way, you could be charged with a capital offense. And so in a state like Texas, it is already a situation where that kind of officer should be soon to be defendant would actually then go in before a judge, that judge would arraign him, and then that judge would make an assessment. And just because you're charged with capital murder doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to be denied bail, but that is such a serious offense and serious accusation that constitutionally it is one that has been historically justified as a means to hold someone without bail. And the reason that we don't hold people without bail is because we have this little nasty thing called the Constitution. And in that Constitution, it says that there is a presumption of innocence. And sometimes what happens is people are innocent. I mean, we know that y'all may not have y'all's current president. If he was incarcerated for his crimes and never got bail, he may have just been sitting there for a long time. But we know that he didn't even have to really go and spend any time in jail when he got arrested for crimes in 4 different jurisdictions, both state and federal. But nevertheless, so what we do is to make sure that a defendant is cloaked within that, we have a balancing act, because everything about the Constitution is about balance. And so if somebody has a long history where they have gone out, committed violent offenses over and over and over, then a judge has that information in front of them. And mind you, the best person to decide what you will do as it relates to bail is a judge, because the judge is able to judge every single situation and determine whether or not someone is going to be a threat to the community, because that's what it's actually supposed to be about. Bail is not supposed to be punishment. Punishment is supposed to come after the fact. Bail is supposed to be to assure that someone actually shows back up. So if they have a history of fleeing, that is something that a judge takes into consideration. If they have a long criminal history, that's something they take into consideration. If they are facing a significant amount of time, which is why when someone is accused of a capital offense, such as this ICE officer who should be facing significant crimes, then they look at the fact that maybe like in a state like Texas, if you are facing a capital offense, you are facing death or a life without possibility of parole. And so when you are balancing this, you have the ability to judge the credibility of the witnesses that are gonna come before you and testify about why that person may or may not be a threat to the community. You have the ability to make these assessments. For us to take away tools does not make sense because we don't know every individual situation. You are taking power away from the judiciary. And so I think that that's also problematic. But let me continue on. The reason that I say that I don't think that y'all thought this out very well is because what is the meaning of substantially limits cash bail? Because when Texas and Tennessee decided to go in, they decided to limit how many people could actually get cash bail. They have decided that they want to deny even more people cash bail. So you may end up cutting off funds to Texas as well as Tennessee because they literally are in the process of changing the Constitution to actually limit how many people qualify. So you may want to go back and read your language, or it's okay if Texas doesn't get the money because, you know, we got a surplus. So anyway, I will yield my time.
Not one of the most viral clips, but it's substantive there. It has some substance in that. You feel me? Let's see what else we're talking about on this one. Oh, this is old. I want to do the Jasmine Crockett. We've done the mayors. We've done this. I want to go to the James Fishback interview. I talked about this early on stream. There's a lot of y'all who've been here before. You know, I don't really do a lot of the mainstream other podcasters, political commentators, and things of that nature. But the thing with James Fishback is he's taken the fuck off, right? 4th generation, 5th generation guy doing interviews all over the state. Got Tucker Carlson and basically saying, you know what, cool. I'm running to replace Ron DeSantis. I'm out the box. I'm here, and I'm not going to be a slave to the corporate interests like Byron Donalds. Now, I think the other part of it is, this is the craziest shit when you think about it, right? You have Byron Donalds, Black Republican, running for governor with the Trump endorsement, who's getting criticized by Black people for being Uncle Tom. But now you have a white guy who's gone on a Republican platform on Tucker Carlson and brought up Tariq Nasheed and the American descendants of slaves narratives on why Byron Donalds, a Black man, is a tether, why he's not really a descendant of slave, how he isn't really an authentic Black American because he's half Caribbean, half Panamanian, and dark complexion melanated with Black. And I get it. I wholeheartedly get it. Now, if you don't know, I'm half Jamaican. I grew up in a Jamaican household, but my sperm donor side is American, Charleston, South Carolina. So we went through the slave trade. So I have American descendant of slave blood running all through me. But they told me I'm not even, this is the real fact, they told me I'm not even a descendant of slaves because I didn't grow up on the plantation-based narrative, eating chitlins on the rest of that shit. So I'm more Jamaican than I am American, even though I was born here, I was raised here, and I've lived in America my entire fucking life. I've traveled. But this is my domicile. This is where my homestead is. So just imagine when they done called me nigga, white folks, Asian, Hispanic, whatever. Then all of a sudden, they never said, oh, you Jamaican? Oh, you're not black. You Caribbean Black. So we're going to treat you different. No. It's all the same. But for some odd reason, this is what it is. So make sure y'all like and subscribe. We can listen to some of this Tucker Carlson interview. I normally do not do other people, because everybody knows Tucker Carlson. But this is interesting because it ties into Florida. So let's get some of this. I may take a smoke break, I may not, but we're going to listen to it. Let's check it out.
So you're running for governor of Florida. Why are you doing that?
I'm doing it because I love my state. I'm a 4th generation Floridian. And I got to tell you, Tucker, it's really hard to be an American in America these days. It's really hard for Floridians who quite literally put this state on the map. They're now being forced out of this state because they can't afford to live here anymore. All while illegal immigrants still get the free stuff from the Biden years, all while H-1B still come into our state.
All while Republicans have been in leadership since 1994, 1996. They have a picture with, rest in peace, John Thrasher in the Capitol, first floor with Daniel Webster, celebrating the fact of them taking control from Democrats. Republicans have been in control this entire time. That's what the people don't want to tell you. That's what even Democrats don't want to tell you. Property insurance, the high price of living, all this shit didn't happen under Biden. All this shit didn't happen under Obama. All this shit didn't happen under Democratic leadership. This happened under conservative fiscal leaders in the House, the Senate, and the governor's office. And one of those turncoats, Charlie Crist, turned Democrat. But guess what? He was all the way drinking the Republican Kool-Aid when he was serving. So this is less about the issues that you want to solve, James. This is a simple fact that Republicans have been in power and you motherfuckers can't fix this shit because you helped create it. That is the fact of it, if we want to be for real. But let's get back to it.
And take jobs that belong to Americans here in Florida. And then I think the last straw was this idea of Washington, D.C. negotiating a trade deal with China. And then 600,000 foreign students are going to come to our universities, maybe a third of them to Florida colleges, where their taxpayer-funded universities are going to have to give up their seats from Florida kids from Charlotte County or Lee County to kids from Shanghai and Beijing. It didn't make any sense. And so I'm running because I'm the only...
And that's literally true?
Literally. That's part of the current framework, this bilateral framework between the U.S. and China right now, is that D.C. is now, as a concession to the Chinese in this tariff war, that we're going to have to accept 600,000 Chinese foreign students at our schools.
And you think you're getting 200,000 in Florida?
We could get 200,000 here in Florida.
And they would go to state, that's crazy.
So University of Florida, Florida State, UCF, USF. Now, I think it's easy to get lost in all those numbers, but just take one kid from a small fishing village in Florida and say, hold on, your ability to go to a horticulture program at the University of Florida has now been put on pause. Your entire life has been shelved because we need to have a grand negotiating strategy with China and tariffs and the AI arms race. It's destroying lives here in Florida. It's just the latest analogy of we're losing sight of what the America First movement is.
So that's for sure. So that means, I mean, I guess this is all obvious, but I haven't talked it through or really thought it through. So that would mean that there's no preference given to the American born whose family's been paying taxes to support the school. And I should say in Florida, the best schools in Florida are public universities.
That's right. The largest and the best.
Right. So University of Florida, number one. I think.
I don't want to get in trouble.
But, no, but I mean, I'm just like,
yes,
hardest to get into. So it's not like they're all going to go to some boutique liberal arts college and pay $100,000 a year to Middlebury or something. They're going to be taking spots at the public universities that are there to serve the children of taxpayers of Florida.
That's exactly right.
Who will not receive preference over them.
Correct. In fact, will be inferior to them in a sense, because when you have this DC mandate coming down that says, hey, because of our grand strategy with China, because the U.S.-China, the Sino-U.S. relationship is on the line, wink, wink, nod, nod, in order to maintain détente with Beijing and Xi Jinping, we need this kid to get in. And it's not going to ever be a direct order, but it's going to be implied in the zeitgeist that, you know, those pesky Americans, you know, the ones that paid to build this university,
yes,
they deserve, and forget this idea of fairness and who deserves what. Just objectively speaking, Florida kids who grew up here know the state best. When they graduate, they'll stay in this state.
Of course,
they'll build businesses here. They'll hunt here. They'll raise families here. And when you deny them that ability to do all of that, then what's the point?
That is a very distressing thing. And that's happening.
It's happening.
What the thing that troubles me the most about James Fishback is you have all these analogies, but I'll be fair with you. In my 15 years in the political process, I've never seen you once in an education committee meeting to really understand how we even got here on the educational landscape, even for students with bright futures. There was a point where you could qualify for bright futures, but not get into any of the state university schools. They had to change the requirements. So it really is crazy to me. Even talking about Asian students coming in, foreign students coming in, and, you know, the potential of 200,000 of them coming to Florida universities, I get it. But where the fuck was all this knowledge coming from? Where was all this insight on all this shit happening before you decided to run for office? Because it's narratives, right? It's the fear factor of, you know what? I'm in Middleburg, Florida. I'm in Ocoee. I'm in Coral Gables, Kendall, somewhere, and I'll have a fear tactic down from this guy, James Fishback, to basically say, okay, cool. Yes, the Asian kids, the deal that we're making with China is going to come take your spot. That's not what the fuck's going to happen. What the fuck's going to happen is your kid's going to apply to get into these schools, and we're going to take the out-of-state student because the out-of-state student pays more in tuition than your in-state ass. And unless you have a bright future scholarship, That means that you're not cream of the crop. You're not going to probably graduate in a 4 to 6 year span, right? You may not even come in with any college credit. So you really may be sitting here for a while. But those out-of-state students are paying $50,000 better compared to your $20,000 or $30,000. Yeah, they're going to be more out there. So that's really what's going to happen. Because it gets to a point of saying, I get it. The narratives are very strong and very great, but it's bullshit. It's utter bullshit.
What has been the posture of state government? Like, what's the governor's office say about that?
How can he
It's been
know?
nothing so far. I think Governor DeSantis has been a great governor, especially during COVID, after COVID, standing up.
Yes, I agree with that.
The indoctrination in our schools, which maybe is the only silver lining from COVID, is all the parents actually knew what was going on in the classroom.
Right.
The white.
Mind you, Republicans have been in control since the 90s. So anything going on in the classroom that DeSantis fixed was created by, the Republicans. Did you hear me? The Republicans have been in control since the 90s. Anything dealing with education, indoctrination in schools, woke, property taxes, the cost of health care, everything. Republicans have been under control. So why the fuck are you trying to scare me? Why are you trying to scare me? Come on, man.
White guilt lessons,
Yes.
to the white kids. We don't want the teachers telling the white kids to apologize. And we don't want the teachers also telling the black kids that there's something somehow wrong with them.
Exactly.
And they're systemically oppressed and they can never make it. My posture on all of this is, I think as conservatives, we have to stop playing defense, stop wagging the finger at things we don't like, and start actually having concrete, falsifiable solutions. So this issue of China, here's my solution, very simple. On day one, my first executive order as governor next January is to raise tuition on all foreign students to $1 million a year. So
that's fucking crazy. When the former lieutenant governor, the current president of Florida International University, was the one who was, and when she was in the House of Representatives, who helped pass the initiative to give Dreamers in-state tuition. So just imagine the fight you're going to have with one of your university presidents. I guess you're going to replace her. But the other thing about it is, here's what you get from James Fishback, is the fact that he sounds like a lot of promising newly elected officials when they're selling this bullshit about how they're going to do and what they're going to do, because the governor, executive order this, you will never have the legislature. You would have to win this state 80% for them to be like, oh shit, they really buying his bullshit. And I don't think it's there yet. Because last I think you were checking around 4 or 5% of the polls. So it makes sense to be so sensationalized that you have to run it up. And guess what? I'm a Democrat. And I realize this. This is really what the fear is, right? The fear isn't James Fishback. The fear is Byron Donalds winning and Jerry Demings pulling an upset against David Jolly in the Democratic primary and having 2 black candidates on both sides of the aisle running. And I'll be fair with you like this. I think it hurts Byron Donalds to have 2 black people running. That's why James Fishburne, whatever the fuck his name is, that's why he's getting so much credit right now to go on Tucker Carlson and say this bullshit, because they realize like, oh shit, Byron got Trump's endorsement. Okay, cool. We're going to have one brother on the top. But then Jerry comes out and says, wait a minute, we can't just put up another former, Democrats not just putting up another former Republican. We at least kind of put a true Democrat in. But the Democrats turned on him. Ask Gail the Grifter Andrews and all these other consultants that are working with the former Republican. You can see that that's what the fear is. For the first time in American history, you would have 2 black men running for governor in the South, meaning one of them is going to win. That has to be the biggest fucking fear out there. But they dropping $100,000 checks to Byron Donalds. I've seen about 30 names on his invitation at Mar-a-Lago. He's going to raise another $1 million in the next 2 weeks. So Fishburne has to get on Tucker Carlson and get some burn. Or is he going to get spin out? They going to run the block on his ass. I'm telling you now.
So Tucker, when they can't pay, they're out and our kids are back in. Their destinies, their lives restored at our great colleges.
I'm going to stop talking for a second. I'm going to let this ride.
In the legislature, you can do that by executive order?
Pure executive order.
Ooh, that's clever. Yeah, because foreign students pay full freight typically.
Right.
And unless you're an illegal alien, in which it's subsidized. But rich foreigners send their kids to school in America and displace Americans.
Correct. Well, I should say they pay full freight relative in that moment to what the tuition is relative to the in-state student. But think about the in-state student, 18 years old, probably worked a job in Florida,
right?
Lived their whole life. Their parents lived their whole life there, possibly. So all of those taxes that they paid over their 18 years, their parents' 45 years, collectively built that university, funded dormitories, janitors, professors,
of course.
The chief DEI officer, right? All of that was funded. And so it is full freight in an instantaneous sense. But if you take a holistic view, the kid who just got here from Shenzhen, who doesn't know what a Florida orange juice, like none of that can't possibly, both in an economic sense, but I think, not to sound gay, but in a spiritual sense,
yes,
like in a spiritual sense, does not represent our state and our heritage.
It's the opposite of gay, actually. No, I agree with you absolutely and completely.
Gay.
And that's,
Did
by the way, how civilization forms its culture is through education, right? And you can't educate the world. That's not your job. And in fact, it's counterproductive to having a distinct culture. So that's what inspired you to get in?
I think that was the last straw, to tell you the truth, because I met with a lot of college students in my life before this, which is to say 4.5 weeks ago. I've been running an investment firm called Azoria that I actually launched at all places at Mar-a-Lago last December 2024. Kevin Roberts was there, President Trump, Kathy Wood. And the firm was based on this idea that instead of channeling money into companies that hate America, why don't we channel money into companies that unapologetically stand for American values, like meritocracy, like colorblindness. And so in 2025, I'm proud to say we channeled up to $40 million of investor capital in companies that were doing the crazy thing of not hiring on race and gender and hiring on skill and merit. And my company, Azoria, its ETF got delisted by our board of trustees. They're supposed to be independent, but it got delisted because we submitted an amendment to them saying we wanted to now exclude companies that abuse the H-1B program. We said, look, this abuse, it is systematic, it is systemic, it's hurting American workers. And we gave them a 5-page research paper that said it's actually hurting the bottom line of these companies because they're bringing in cheap foreign slave labor that doesn't actually add to the synergy of the company. It leads to higher attrition, it breaks down productivity, et cetera. And their response was, you're a racist. And they delisted our fund. And
who did this?
The board of trustees of the Title Financial Group in October. Just 9 days after saying, hey, here's our formal amendment to broaden the scope of our investment fund to not just exclude companies that are doing the DEI stuff, but actually exclude companies that are doing something that's far more insidious, which is, you're a white guy? No, you don't get a job. We want an Indian guy to do it for half the price.
Right. And ethnic cartels form within companies that hire within the ethnicity. It's the opposite of what this country promises.
Right. And they gaslight us and say, all the white men hiring officers are only hiring white men. Absolutely not.
That's a lie.
It's not a single HR manager.
This was a white male country that led in the rest of the world. So clearly we know that's not true.
Clearly.
Yeah.
And this, it's all based on the slanderous lie of systemic racism. The only systemic racism in America is against white Christian men.
I'm aware.
What?
That's interesting. And
You
it's
say a lot of
interesting to hear
tricky
you say
words.
that as a gubernatorial candidate, because even like 6 months ago, hearing that from an aspiring politician would have been totally shocking. And it does seem like maybe because of you and people like you saying it more, just like who could disagree with that?
Yeah, I think for me, I was in a small town called Frostproof in southern Polk County. Your viewers may know Grady Judd. He's the most famous sheriff here in Florida.
I know Grady Judd, yeah.
And so I was down in Frostproof, and this was a community that was teeming with life just 15, 20 years ago. The peak of our citrus industry was the 2005 harvest, 230 million boxes of citrus. This last season, only 14 million. And this was predominantly a white man's industry. And when I went there and I saw what used to be a small movie theater, now a Dollar General, what used to be a family-owned grocery store, now some weird perverted liquor store, when I see entire towns across my state, whether it's Frostproof, Pahokee, Belglade, Canal Point, Moorhaven,
I've seen it.
Utterly hollowed out. And the primary victims of what is effectively this America Last globalism that has prioritized other nations and other corporations' interest over our own people, it really does hit hard that we have been sold a bag of goods. And the biggest victims in all of it are actually predominantly white men, to be completely honest. I mean, the victimhood, not to be a victim, but the victimhood is very far reaching. But if you want to flip the caste system over, you'd be hard pressed to find someone more oppressed in my state right now than a rural white Christian man who relied on cattle, on citrus, on manufacturing. My own dad was a tree trimmer for 20 years. The devastating Haitian earthquake happened in January of 2010. And then it was this brilliant idea from a guy named Barack Hussein Obama to let 100 Haitians who were here illegally just stay here and get work authorization. Now, of course, they can't become SAT tutors, so what happens? They do manual labor, like tree trimming. Next thing you know, my dad has lost his business of 20 years through no fault of his own, but because the open border legitimized that labor. And now I'm living on food stamps with my parents. We're on the brink of bankruptcy. Thank God we didn't have to go that far. But that is a real concern, and I felt it in my own community, quite literally in my own family.
What James isn't talking about is a real factor of the development in Florida. I'm going to go back to the oranges. If you look up a city, one of the newest cities in the state of Florida, the Villages of Westlake, it's in western Palm Beach County, Loxahatchee by Lion Country Safari. You may have heard of Lion Country Safari. But Villages of Westlake is literally between the acreage and Belgrade, Pahokee, what he was speaking about, right? Because Belgrade, Pahokee, you have a lot of sugarcane out there, a lot of development for what it is, rural areas, right? But, not development, but whatever. However, what he's missing out is the key thing. The oranges stopped because one, citrus canker. Let's go back to that. The citrus canker thing played a role in it. Also a fact of development. There were major orange groves in western Palm Beach County, western Palm Beach, central Florida. A lot of them had been run over by, guess what? Developers selling mini communities where you'll come in and you may pay a CDD, Community Development District fee of $5,000 a year, a HOA fee of $2,000 a year, but you're building a $5 million house, $1 million house, $750,000 house. You're building a major house, right? That's what's happened because people were able to sell their homes in New York, Georgia, Florida, Virginia, wherever, and buy shit cash in Florida. And guess who was selling it? Those cattle ranchers, those farmers, everything else, even companies like Georgia Pacific that used to have timber in the state. They used to get a lot of trees here. When they were doing their carbon deregulation, everything renewable energy stuff, they started shutting down a lot of the plants here in Florida. A lot of the rural American plants. And what happens is, for people that have a lot of land, here's what the state of Florida does, right? For the Department of Ag. The Department of Ag can basically say, hey, we can preserve your land. Orange groves, let's cut down the orange groves. And let's make it a nature preserve for horses, for kids dealing with substance abuse so that they can come to your ranch for 2 or 3 weeks at a time, get the treatment they need and things like that, right? Those kind of things are what happened. You have a land grab of preservation where they're paying people who own land from the good old times, maybe $3-4 million, depending on how much acres they have and what they're preserving, right? So you have a mix of things happening. That it wasn't just the Haitians that Obama brought in to say, okay, cool, well, from the earthquake, they came and took these jobs. That may play a small role in it, but it's also a shift in the development in our state that a lot of people don't want to talk about. But all put together, I feel what he's saying, but it's a fear tactic. It's a fear tactic to say, the Haitians came and took our jobs. They're gonna basically take our roles and our positions in these schools. You need to vote for me or else the black guy's gonna win. That's all Fishback is saying. So all put together, I'm gonna stop talking, Fishback, whatever. It's a fact of the fear tactics is what he's putting out there, but it doesn't go with the simple fact of what you really know about Florida, right? You're just like the reporters on the news, in a good way or bad way, Matt. No, Matt. Okay, what facts? Do you want the orange groves, Villages of Westlake? Do you want to see a Google map? Let me know what the facts would be. They ate the dogs and cats. Here they go, Skinny. Y'all hilarious. Matt, what I'm giving you is one. I'm a lobbyist. I'm a professional lobbyist in the state of Florida. I work in the education space as well. So for someone to come talk about the K through 12 or the higher ed and what they're going to do, executive order to raise tuition, I can see through a lot of the bullshit of what he's saying, right? Lucas, what are you saying? Let me go back to Lucas real quick. Hold on. I'm putting all the money dump truck is putting in the White House. He thinks he's planning on leaving, not to do with anything but gay matters. Here, I'm up Christina, boss of propaganda, so wicked propaganda. He's no victim, he's a liar. He's jealous of all equals that are getting chances. Yeah, I agree with that. Choice of this complex market interaction. Hey, very true, Micro. I get you. equity has done its own damage. I agree with you. It could. I think the narrative is off there, right? DEI killed a lot of things. However, my main point is to Fishback's complaints. This didn't happen under Democratic leadership. You can point your fingers at Joe Biden for the Haitian immigrants, but guess what? The jobs, the development, the orange groves that were being sold, the cattle ranches that were being sold, all the things that were happening, Georgia Pacific cutting down their timber plants in North Florida in Taylor County, where people were literally selling that lumber from Taylor County, Florida to Georgia every year for paper. Like that ends up being a lot of the issue, not just the fear tactics. And the bullshit is people don't research. So like Matt's saying, Matt, I'm looking for you to tell me. I don't have a problem with this guy. What I'm saying is he's not basing his shit on facts. He's basing his shit on rhetoric. And he's spinning the rhetoric with a nice radio voice to kind of make you believe he's saying some real shit. He's saying bullshit.
The new year is a chance to get your priorities in order, and sleep ought to be at the top. What happened to citrus in Florida?
So we're going to skip over other people's ads. So this is what we do here.
Like the groves have been torn up. It's gone. It's dead.
It's dead. Greening.
I can't get a straight answer on that exactly. USDA is part of it. Trade deals are part of it. Do you have any idea what happened?
So it's not to sound vapid, but it is a multifaceted issue. The proximate cause was greening that really hit 06, 07 and just knocked citrus out.
Citrus canker?
Greening.
This, quite coincidentally, from China, of all places, not Wuhan this time, right? But this infestation that led to the premature falling of fruit, of citrus fruit, whether it's Donaldson or orange, Tangelo, whatever, off these trees. And you can't sell that fruit if it falls off early. And so that's obviously the proximate cause. And I think it's like most conservatives, I'm not going to sit here, and just blame China for everything.
Right.
I think the ultimate systemic cause is Democrats and, dare I say, Republicans in Tallahassee just stopped caring.
Yeah.
Look, this destroyed an entire industry. 220 million down to 14 million boxes, entire communities decimated.
He's bullshitting y'all, bruh. He's bullshitting y'all, bruh. This is the Google timeline, y'all. Key points. Let me make sure that people can see it. Key points, right? I'm gonna go strictly to here, right? Because I was in high school when this shit was happening. 2003, I graduated high school. I went to college 2004, 2005, 2006. I was in college for this shit. I was in Tallahassee. I remember the canker issue. Because here's the thing that happened. By the time I started working in the legislature from an intern in 2008 up until they started doing the reimbursement for the canker shit, right? So what he's saying about the boxes going from 230 million dropping, it wasn't because of the Haitians. It wasn't because of immigrants. It wasn't because of none of that shit or China. It was because of citrus canker. Read it for yourself. Trees were removed until when? 2006. Listen. You had the hurricanes. I didn't talk to my mom for like 4 or 5 days. I didn't hear from her when Hurricane Charlie and Francis hit. They were back to back storms. That impacted it. Then there was a citrus canker. What I'm trying to tell you is not believing in what Fishburne or Fishback is saying. But what I'm saying is it has nothing to do with China. It has nothing to do with Haitians. It has nothing to do with anything except the narrative. Fear tactic. That if you don't remember, you're going to go back and say, yeah, it was the Haitians that took the damn jobs. No, it wasn't. It was the hurricanes. They had 4 back-to-back hurricanes within a span of like 2 months. That impacted the citrus industry before the canker, which already they were starting to remove trees before. And we've had people who live in Western Palm Beach County. They had Palm Beach County, family in South Florida. They were coming to your damn house and telling you what fucking trees you had to remove because of the canker.
Not just citrus, but all the little mom and pop businesses, the diner, the family-owned grocery store, the little movie theater downtown.
Well, citrus was Florida. It was on the license plate.
It's still it. Well, there's something else on the license plate now, as I think you know. It's a foreign flag. I've also said as Florida governor, there's going to be no foreign flags flown on our government buildings or on our state license plates.
I want to ask you about that. How did another country's flag wind up on your license plate? But I'll ask you in a second. So
sure.
But citrus was at the very center of Florida's economy and its culture for 100 years.
100%. And I grew up in Broward County, which is obviously a very urban place now, but where I grew up in Davie in West Broward, near the Everglades, we had citrus groves out there when I was a kid. And so you could quite literally go out to like a Flamingo Gardens and you could smell that orange scent on a crisp,
it was a wonderful
day.
Smell.
Bitch, please. Bitch, please. I used to work across the street at a Winn-Dixie, Seminole Pratt. Right, they just opened a Winn-Dixie back up. We were across from the fucking orange groves. Thousands and thousands of acres of orange groves. I don't remember smelling none of them damn oranges until I got close to the damn farm. Shut the fuck up.
And it is perhaps the sickest analogy that, yes, in a proximate sense, China caused this, but much like COVID, Tucker, it wasn't China. It was the government apathy, indifference, and an intentional sabotage of our country against its own people.
So true.
Look, I'm not going to sit here and blame Xi Jinping. He's doing what he thinks is best for his country, and that means screwing us over. I guess that's it. But I can't sit here and say, look, the Chinese are guilty of the fentanyl crisis. These precursors come from interior of China, get shipped to Mexico, get pressed into fentanyl pills and sent across the southern border. But really, it is our leaders that have the ultimate responsibility. They're the last line of defense. So I think as Republicans, we need to grow up and stop blaming all of our problems and embracing this left-wing victimhood culture.
Agree.
And so look, China this, China that. Here's my solution as Florida governor. Any scientist in the world who wants to develop a strand of citrus that is impervious to greening, we're going to pay you $1 billion cash. If you can prove, and we'll grow it and we'll do it for 18 months, if you take the best scientist in the world, and they may be in Iran, of all places, it doesn't matter. If there's a scientist or a group of scientists in the world who want to step up and actually solve a problem that has torn asunder entire communities, it's unemployed men and women, hollowed out entire towns across my state, we're going to pay you $1 billion, because what that industry represented, that would merely be an investment in bringing back the number one thing that put my state on the map.
No, that is absolutely right. And they tore up the groves that took, it takes years for an orange tree to go from seedling to fruit bearing. And they tore them up. They tore them out of the ground. They burned them.
Correct.
It's really a metaphor for so much.
Citrus cancer.
So I want to ask about the foreign flag thing. I always admired DeSantis, certainly during COVID. I thought he was just a remarkable leader, interviewed him many times. I know him and his wife. And it was the foreign policy stuff that made me wonder, like, what is this? And how controlled is he by Ken Griffin and the rest of his donors? And then he had this moment where he signed a hate speech law out of the country. He flew to a foreign country, Israel, to sign a hate speech law for Florida. And I thought, well, this is obviously unconstitutional. It's immoral, but it's also part of an elaborate humiliation ritual where you have to go not just like enslave your own people with a hate speech law, which that is, it's slavery, but you have to go kiss someone else's wall to show your obedience. And I was like, I'm out. Like, how did that happen?
Well, it started like most things, terrible things start here in Florida with Randy Fine.
Randy Fine?
Quite literally.
The genocide guy?
Yeah, the genocide guy, the starve away Gaza kids guy.
I can't even believe he's real. So what did he have to do with it?
So he introduced this law, which effectively criminalized anti-Semitism in Florida. Now, look, Tucker, I think you and I and your viewers recognize that any form of religious hatred should be condemned unequivocally.
Well, I have condemned it. I've condemned anti-Semitism. I've condemned attacking people for being Muslim, with their kids are evil too.
Right.
I was called a jihadi for that. I'm against all of it, and I'm certainly opposed to the anti-Christian hate from...
Which is perhaps the most virulent.
That's for sure. So no, I'm a Christian. I'm opposed to that. But you can't criminalize attitudes. Every person's free to have his own attitudes, ugly as they may be, period.
Yeah, correct. And the issue is, if you look at the statutory definition of anti-Semitism here in Florida, which is 10105 in our state statute, it actually says that criticizing the Jewish state, that would be Israel, holding them to a double standard, denying them their place on the world stage. That's literally in state statute 10105.
It's against the law to criticize Israel.
Think about that. So if you're a college student at FSU and you're having an earnest, good faith debate with someone who sympathizes with the Israeli cause, you with the Palestinian cause, whatever the case is, and one of you says Netanyahu is a war criminal or Israel is committing genocide, you could literally be punished and expelled from your taxpayer-funded university by that. And that is messed up. It is unconstitutional.
It's totally
it's un-American.
Crazy.
It's totally un-American. And of course, the Republicans and Democrats in Tallahassee got along with it because their donors wanted them to get along with it.
And so Randy Fine is the one who introduced that?
He introduced it. And it was his idea to have it signed in Israel.
Why would DeSantis, who is smart, if nothing, not a warm person, obviously, but he's definitely not stupid, why would he go along with something like that?
It's a great question. I hold the governor to the incredible work that he did during COVID.
Me too.
Education, all of that.
So that was specific statute, because if it's not in the statute, it's in the staff analysis, right? So Fishburne is right. Fishback, Fishburne, whatever. The public K-20 educational institution must treat discrimination by students or employees or resulting from institutional policies motivated by anti-Semitic intent in an identical manner to discrimination motivated by race. For the purpose of this section, the term anti-Semitism includes certain perception of Jewish people, which may be expressed as hatred towards Jewish people, rhetorical or physical manifestations of anti-Semitism directed towards a person, his or her property, or towards Jewish community institutions or religious facilities. Let me look up Israel. Okay. Accusing the person of being, hold on, let me just make sure. Oh, y'all can't even see this for real. My bad, chat. Let me put it up top. Let me try to straighten this out for y'all. So, my bad, chat. I'm reading y'all. I didn't even check if y'all could read it. Oh, what was the first one I had? Anti-Semitism. This is the first one, as we highlighted. Public institution, K through 20. Not K through 12, K through 20. Basically, it's there in the state of Israel. Accusing Jews as a people of being responsible for real or imagined wrongdoing committed by a Jewish person or group, the state of Israel, or even acts committed by non-Jews. Accusing Jews as a people or the state of Israel of inventing or exaggerating the Holocaust. Accusing Jewish citizens of being more loyal to Israel or the alleged priorities of Jews worldwide than the interests of their own nations. Examples of anti-Semitism related to Israel include demonizing Israel by using the symbols and images associated with the classic anti-Semitism characters Israel or Israelis strong. It's there. However, criticism of Israel that is similar to criticism towards any other country may not be regarded as anti-Semitic. I think that's a key right here. Hold on. This last section right here I'm highlighting. I think that's a good thing to kind of, hold on. I gotta scroll up for y'all. People don't see it on the vertical. Make sure people on the vertical can see it. So basically the language is there that basically says, if it's criticism of Israel that is similar to criticism towards any other country may not be regarded as anti-Semitic. However, I do kind of feel that, we're not doing this for Jamaica, to be fair. But I do understand that anti-Semitism is real. But it could be a stretch to make sure it's incorporated very finely that anybody criticizing will be anti-Semitic. That's kind of crazy.
I think that what's quite telling, just recent events, is maybe you heard a foreign leader was here in Florida last week. One Benjamin Netanyahu's fifth visit to the United States.
He's a criminal.
He's a total criminal. He's a depraved little man, to be completely honest.
I agree.
And he was here, and all of this, Ashley Moody, Bernie Moreno, all came down to meet with him. The governor didn't. Governor DeSantis didn't. But the Lieutenant Governor, Jay Collins, did. And so I think it's easy for us to go back and say, why did the governor do this, that, or the other several years ago? But at this moment in time, when the governor had the opportunity to meet with Netanyahu. It seems like he deliberately chose not to, which was an absolutely wise decision. But Jay Collins did meet with him, which is actually rather interesting because 40 hours before that meeting happened, Israeli media said that I am a, quote, threat, that I am a bigger threat to Israel than Donald Trump's.
Who is?
I am.
You?
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 31.
That's crazy.
Well, congratulations for being an existential threat to a nation state because you're running for governor. They really said that?
They said that. And because I pushed out a policy that was actually quite popular with almost everybody. And it is the fact that Florida lends Israel $385 million as we sit here today. And so what I said is at day one as governor, executive order number 2 would be to fully divest all foreign bonds of any country. And there's only one country that we invest in abroad.
Are you serious?
And that's Israel. $385 million. And you know what really got them is I said I would then take the $385 million and create a statewide down payment assistance program for young married couples because we have to protect home ownership. So young folks across our state can buy a place to live, get married, and have kids.
Okay, well, you've got my vote. That's all I needed to hear.
That's the best policy he said all night.
Amen. Amen. What's the smart way to protect your house? Is it wait till a burglar smash?
See, I'm not. Why pay for YouTube Premium if they're going to put their ads in their own commercials, ads in their own content?
Well, don't take...
What does Florida have to do with Israel? It's so far away.
Right. So I actually was a government bond trader in a different life, which is to say 3 or 4 years ago. And so I traded government bonds and interest rate futures and all of that stuff. And so what happened was after the tragedy that was October 7th, that it unequivocally was a tragedy.
Yeah, of course.
The Florida state government, state chief financial officer, Jimmy Patronis, who's now in Congress, he announced that to stand with Israel, we were going to start buying tens of millions, which became hundreds of millions of dollars in Israeli bonds. This was a purely political decision. It wasn't a decision that says, hey, the yield, the rate of return on Israeli debt is actually quite high, so we should buy some. No, it was to stand in solidarity with a foreign country. We are going to take taxpayer money and lend it in the form of a sovereign government bond purchase. They weren't even hiding how nakedly political they were. And just for a moment, I just want to...
But what about the pensioners who rely on the returns of those bonds to like fund their retirement, or the people of Florida? Isn't there a fiduciary duty of the legislature to like look out for their interests, or is it?
And that's where James is kind of shooting himself in the foot, because a lot of this was discussed. Democrats did have issues with this as well, not just the Israel part, but the foreign government part as well. But it's a fact of they put everybody's pensions essentially in this shit. And it didn't just happen here. It actually happened with the former speaker. About 3 speakers ago, Will Weatherford was the one that actually kind of pushed that initiative forward. So it wasn't necessarily all recent. I mean, there could have been some more recent stuff since October 7th, but the whole structure of this didn't just happen after October 7th.
Is it only about helping Bibi?
The latter. Truly. I mean, you're right. And by the way, and I say this as someone who was a fiduciary as an investor.
Yes.
Think about it just for a moment. A country is going to war, is currently being confronted by a soon-to-be nuclear power in Iran, they say.
Yeah.
Is escalating tensions with all of its neighbors, just objectively, forget what country that is.
Of course.
And now you think it's a good time to compromise your fiduciary responsibility and buy their government debt? I mean, like, can you imagine someone saying
that seems like a good long-term bet.
Investment, right? Can you imagine someone saying, like, whoever they are, and saying, like, we just invaded Iraq in 2003. We should just stand with Iraq and buy their bonds. Like, forget who Saddam Hussein was. Like, why would it be a good idea to buy Iraqi government bonds? Right? And by the way, they don't offer a terrible amount of interest. Actually, Israeli bonds often yield less than U.S. treasuries.
No way.
Yeah. So it's not like they were yielding 20% and they were actually an objectively good decision for our pensioners. No, it was a nakedly political decision without any risk reward. It was all risk and no reward to appease the Israeli government and donors.
Here's what I understand. So the donors in Florida, so there are a lot of very rich, very active donors in Florida who support Israel also. Why don't they send their money? I don't understand. Like, if you're a billionaire, why are you pressuring some poor, low IQ Florida politician to spend taxpayer money on a foreign country when you could just send your own money to the foreign country?
I actually think it is sadistic.
I think so too.
I think it's actually symbolic because you're right. A large hedge fund in Miami or Palm Beach, it would be nothing to buy $380 million of Israeli bonds. They could have leverage. Nothing. It would be done in one day. But it's the symbolism of the solidarity. And by the way, the Florida state pension framework prohibits all foreign government bond purchases with one exception, Israel.
Are you
so it is
serious?
Literally prohibited in their investment framework that you cannot buy the bonds of any country, Luxembourg, Switzerland, the UK, and those actually may be good investments. But Israel, in their own words, to stand in solidarity with them after October 7th, we decided to send $385 million. And that's why as Florida governor, I'm going to divest that full $385 and then start a statewide, with that money, a statewide down payment assistance program. Because
that'll have to be created by the legislature. That's the part you have to also understand. This legislature gave DeSantis a whole lot of damn power. They didn't give him that much. Policy. You'll be in the executive branch most likely if your dreams come true. You have no legislative power. The legislature would have to write that. So how are you going to get that back to the House and the Senate? That's what I'm saying. Fear tactics. The fear tactics of being like, damn, we're sending this money to Israel. So now you got all the rednecks and people who are anti-Semitic upset like, damn, they're spending $385 million to Israel. Then they're going to be mad. We need to get our money back, right? And you're going to push this shit and never be able to get it passed without vetoing the entire budget because guess what? You're preaching bullshit. Fishback, fish burn.
Now you got young couples across the state who are renting. They're staring down the prospect of the 50-year mortgage. They can't feel like they have any equity in their future.
What's a 50-year mortgage?
Well,
that's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
That's the solution to the affordability crisis.
You just turn everyone into a renter?
Yeah. It's usury. It's just imposing usury on us.
Of course, I knew the answer to my own question, but it's just so grotesque. It's hard to believe that's real.
But I think this is the frustration, not with the president, but with a lot of his advisors, is there are real concerns about affordability in my state. And number one is home ownership, right? If you can't buy a home, can you get married? If you can't get married, can you have kids? And if you can't have kids, then what on earth is the point, Tucker?
Exactly.
Right? And so I think the president instinctively recognizes that we have to solve this problem. But the solution isn't to go from 30 years of debt slavery to 50 years so you can save $100 a month. I mean, my dad and I did the math. And for the average home here in Florida, a 50-year mortgage would mean that if you paid $250,000 to the mortgage servicer, you would own precisely $18,000 of equity in your home. This is literally what was called out biblically, what we were warned against.
It was. That's correct.
And so we have to be very honest about the system that they're creating. You know, I was kind of skeptical, I think in 15 and 16 when the World Economic Forum trotted out the year is 2030 and you will own nothing. We are rapidly racing toward that today. And people are getting off on it, and actually like in a sexual, sadistic way.
I totally agree.
That we are, I think, cucked to the point that we have to bend over. We can't own anything. We can't have jobs in our country anymore. And if we ask questions about why we sent $385 million, if I stand up as a candidate for governor, I am smeared by effectively the state media of Israel and called a threat to their country.
Well, you are a threat, actually, because, for example, I didn't know that. I didn't know that the state of Florida's pension fund had invested $300 million in Israeli bonds. And they're the only country that the state's allowed to buy bonds from. And I mean, I didn't know any of that. So just saying that out loud is a massive threat. I think all of this stuff happens because people don't know it's happening. And they're kind of lulled like cattle into a trance, don't you think?
That's right.
So
that's some bullshit.
So the genocide guy is the one who came up with the hate speech law. Now, was he a member of Congress then?
State's representatives.
State Randy Fine.
Yeah, State House.
Have you talked to him?
Well, he called me the other day, actually.
The genocide guy called you?
Yeah, the genocide guy called me. He woke me up at like 7 7 a.m.
That's never a good day.
He was breathing.
When the genocide guy calls and wakes you up.
He was breathing rather heavily.
I bet he was.
And I think he was in a car. I heard some Cheez-Its rumbling around in the back seat. I know that
crazy.
sound, Tucker. I know the difference between a Cheez-It and a Pringle.
That's crazy.
I'm a former addict.
Yeah, me too.
But gosh, so he calls me and he says, I hear you're running against Byron. And I said,
but that'd be Byron Donalds.
That'd be Byron Donalds, yes. It goes with many names. We have H1 Byron, APAC Shakur. We can get into that later.
Oh, shit.
I hear you're running against Byron Donalds. And I said, yeah, I'm thinking about it. I respect him. I said, I'm thinking about it, Congressman. And he said, well, you should know that it's not very nice to Byron if you did that. I said, I don't care what's nice to Byron, Congressman. I'm fighting for my state. My state is getting sold off in pieces by the property developers.
True.
It's getting sold off. What were once citrus groves and cattle ranches are now going to be scam Altmans.
And this happened under Republican leadership. So how are you as a Republican going to fix that when you have no legislative power or authority and nobody in the legislature is fucking with you? James Fishback, Fishburn, I'm trying to tell you, this shit's going to crash and burn faster than your fucking race. I'm trying to tell you. You're not Rick Scott, bruh. You're not making it through the primary. Just cut the shit. Save some time. Because all you're doing is really putting the dime of notion in people's faces that, all this fear is out here, but the greatest thing we should really fear is Byron Donalds and Jerry Demings, 2 black men running for governor of the state, and we can't have anything out there. DeSantis told us not to monkey this shit up, and they about to monkey this shit up, and that's what y'all can't say. So y'all gonna say this other bullshit. I'm sick of it.
Next AI data center? That's not what we stand for here in Florida. And then for 42 minutes, he proceeds to call me out. And I'm just listening. I'm brushing my teeth. I'm on mute. I'm just let him talk. But it was very clear, and this was before I had formally announced, but it was publicly talked about that I was seriously considering running, that a sitting member of Congress in Washington, D.C. at the time was taking 42 minutes out of his day, not to talk to a constituent about one of their needs, but to intimidate me into not challenging.
Do you think
Byron
he was
Donalds.
trying to intimidate you?
I think so. It didn't work.
I mean, if he laughs at the murder of children, I guess I shouldn't be surprised, right? Wow. Does he have power in the state?
Fuck no.
Not really. He has power in the sense that he was the only Jewish Republican in Florida in the state House, state Senate. He, of course, then when Mike Waltz got appointed to National Security Advisor and did such a brilliant job there, his seat was vacant. And then Randy Fine quickly moved into the district and decided to run for Congress after quite literally 2 months beforehand being elected to the state Senate.
You don't have to move into the district to run for Congress. That's another thing, just bullshit, but go ahead.
After having served in the state House. And that's why I'm proud to support my friend Aaron Baker, who's now running against Randy Fine, primarying him.
So Fine's not even from the district?
No, he's not. He's from Brevard County down in Melbourne.
How did he get the seat? How did he win?
The endorsement.
A lot of strings. And of course, the president came in and endorsed him as well. But a lot of very powerful people pulled strings. And it's actually a very deep red district that he only ended up winning by 5 points, which just shows you how deeply detested he is by the people of Florida's 6th congressional district.
Is that in fact it was a special election? You also had Jimmy Petronas, a former CFO, who's from, I want to say Panama City, but Panama City is represented by Neil Dunn. So he actually is in a seat in Pensacola that my homegirl Michelle Salzman most likely could have ran for or taken when Matt Gaetz left. But, the Trump endorsement supersedes all. I think Andrade was going to run for that as well. But all put together, this isn't far-fetched. When we ran our congressional race, which represents Jacksonville to Tallahassee at the time between 2018 and 2020, before it was redrawn by the governor, the fact of the matter is we had an opponent that lived in Tampa. It doesn't matter if you win, you win. You have to be in the district by the time you win, not when you run. That's just the rules.
Well, yeah. I mean, members of Congress shouldn't endorse genocide or laugh at the murder of children.
No.
That's disqualifying.
Right. Quite literally starve away. When there was an image, this is July of 2025, an image of children starving, his answer was starve away.
Yeah, Randy thought.
Member.
I call this...
Not my bad, y'all. Randy Fine has been an asshole for Jewish issues on the Republican side forever. And the thing about it is he's one of those pompous assholes, rich, right? Used to be in the gambling industry. So he used to tell people, I spend more money at Disney than everybody in this chamber combined. 120 motherfuckers in a room. And you say, I spend more money than anything. So he's taking this same attitude that he's had in the Florida legislature and he took it to Congress. And the thing about it is Them motherfuckers ain't buying the Florida shit. They not scared of your ass. And you see they turned against them.
Speaker of the House when that happened, and I don't get involved in anything really, but I said, I don't know how you can have this guy in the Republican Party. I'm not going to vote for that. I would never vote for a party that endorses killing kids. Why would I do that? I'm a human being.
But George Santos got some Botox.
Yeah, exactly.
And he gets expelled. I mean, think about that for a second, right?
No, still starve away. That's like, it's everything that we have to be against.
That's right. And I think whichever side of that conflict, and I think most Americans, they resonate with the words of President Trump, is you want the killing to stop, whether it's in Ukraine, Russia, Israel, it doesn't matter.
If I was a Jewish Israeli Zionist, I would still feel that way. You can't ever laugh at the death of children. It's nothing to, that's totally disqualifying.
To the point where he was literally disavowed by AIPAC.
Yeah.
Literally disavowed by
it takes a lot.
AIPAC, of all groups. Speaking of which, Miriam Adelson has already announced that she's funding a war chest against me. Told that to NBC News last month. Yes.
Against you?
Against me, called me out by name. We're monitoring. They did the meme, Tucker. We're literally monitoring the situation, is what was said. And Miss Adelson will be raising a war chest against Mr. Fishback.
Miriam Adelson is spending against you.
Yes.
And she's backing
Byron.
And that's why you call him AIPAC Shakur?
Among other reasons.
That's crazy.
That's the second part of it for other reasons. I wouldn't call Randy AIPAC Shakur.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Just too funny.
You don't need to be an economist to see what's happening. The dollar is in trouble.
How has he responded to AIPAC Shakur?
Well, his campaign called me racist. Not for that comment, but because I called him a slave to his donors.
Yeah.
And I said, with all due respect, I'll stop calling you a slave if you give the money back. The $45 million you gave to your donor, that your donors gave you.
$45 million?
$45 million in a primary that was uncontested until 5 weeks ago.
Oh, no way.
$45 million.
That is how you scare people out of the fucking race. That's simple politics. You raise the most money and be like, hey, can you fucking match this? Rick Scott did it. Bill McCullum was a former CFO. He ran for governor. He may have had $30-40 million in the bank. Rick Scott said, I got $100 million on the side. Let me drop it in my race. Big bank take little bank. What the fuck are you going to do? Are you going to find $45-50 million? Because right now, you got the former House Speaker, Paul Renner, who used his campaign cash, maybe $5 or $10 million, and moved it over to his campaign just to be in the number, right? So it wasn't as if he was running uncontested, because he also knew that DeSantis is trying to get at least 3 or 4 people, Casey DeSantis included, to run for governor. So he wasn't just building his war chest to run against nobody. He was building his war chest to say, fuck it, match me. That's what it is.
In an uncontested primary until 5 weeks ago, until I entered.
And that was all to encourage him to make Florida better?
Apparently. And his idea of making Florida better, in his own words, he wants to, quote, speed up the construction of AI data centers. His words. He said in a private meeting with donors, I have a friend of mine who was there, and he said, what do you think about Fishback's proposal to ban Blackstone from buying single-family homes and forcing us to rent as opposed to own? And what Byron told the donor in that meeting is that Blackstone bailed the economy. They saved us in the financial crisis. They deserve to be able to buy those homes. That's capitalism. That was his response. And I say, look, the goal here is we need to look out for our own people. When a family of 4 is getting outbid by $1,500 by a private equity firm that's taking Chinese money at the capital gains rate, as opposed to the rate that you and I pay and everyone else pays.
They pay half the tax
we pay half. Carried interest, 20%. And he thinks that because of what Blackstone did, which they didn't actually do, what Blackstone allegedly did in 2008 gives them cover to run roughshod over all of us and to take homes from under our feet. And this is not a hypothetical thing. This is happening right now in our state.
Byron said that?
Byron said that to a donor. Because what I have said, Executive Order number 3, is that I would ban Blackstone, any private equity firm, any Airbnb speculator, and any foreign national from buying a single family home in this state of Florida. You don't get to have a right to our homes. If you or I were to go to Canada right now and buy a single family home, we would legally be prohibited from doing so. Because say what you want about Trudeau or Carney, I guess they got the memo that Canada is for Canadians. America's for Americans. And I don't think it's okay that a Chinese national or Russian national or an Israeli national can come here and outbid a family that's known this state for 2-3 generations and say, you know what, that home that you wanted to buy to get married to your wife and to have 3 kids, that's not available anymore because a foreign national wants to vacation here for
Yeah, James don't know about all those Russian oligarchs that live in fucking South Florida. He doesn't know about all the mafia around this motherfucking state who controls shit. Listen, you go tell them Russian oligarchs that live in Broward County on the water. Little Moscow, I think they call it. Go tell them this shit. Don't bring it to us. Go tell them. So you from Davie. You know where they at. Go down to Little Moscow, James, and tell these people this shit. Don't go on Tucker Carlson and say this shit. Go tell them to their face and record and let us know what the fuck they say. Because I'm quite sure Mr. Pre-Governor, Mr. Wannabe Governor, they gonna hang your ass over that damn balcony like Vanilla Ice. So it sounds amazing. But you're not going down to Little Moscow to tell them oligarchs shit about what they can own. Okay? Let's get that fucking straight. And I'm not saying it because I'm scared of them. I'm telling you because that's the fucking real. What are you talking about?
5 weeks out of the year.
Man, you're spinning me up. Getting mad just hearing this. What kind of reaction do you get when you say that?
Very positive. I'll tell you one.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Well, I get a very positive reaction because I think, and you've pointed this out, I loved your speech at AmFest because you recognized that America First is not owned exclusively by any party.
Of course not.
In fact, if you went out and polled that very question, that framework that you put out, which is the American government should exclusively look out for the interests of its citizens.
Yeah.
90% of not just Republicans, of literally everyone would agree with that statement.
Yes.
And so what I was amazed by is we had a meet and greet in Tampa Bay this past weekend, and we had 50 or so people RSVP'd. Over 200 showed up, and a dozen on their way out said, I wasn't even a Republican. I'm an independent. I'm a Democrat. I am changing my party affiliation so I can vote for you in the primary. Because just like South Carolina, I know you had Paul on recently, just like South Carolina, Florida is a red state. The next governor, mathematically, will be a Republican. Trump won the state by 13, Ron DeSantis by 19. The next governor is going to be a Republican. The question is, what kind of Republican, Tucker?
Yeah, I mean, if it's the Republican who laughs at dead children, I'm not voting Republican. I'm not going to ever vote for anyone like that. Anyone who's pro-death.
For that comment.
Yes! Yes! Fuck you too!
Long titty, no nipple having ass, bitch.
I don't play that shit. Don't come on here trying to roast me, bitch. You lucky you don't have a picture on your damn profile. Motherfucker, I'll roast your ass back.
Who's against human dignity, for hate speech laws, who doesn't think that providing the next generation a chance to get married and have kids and own a home. If you're not on board with that, then I have nothing in common with you.
Yeah.
I don't care what you call yourself.
That's right. And I think this idea of the party labels has become a hall of mirrors.
That's for sure.
Right? What you see isn't what you get. I mean, by the way, Byron Donalds, as of right now, still endorses Randy Fine's re-election bid, despite that starve away comment. And they tried to cancel you for having a conversation with a certain someone. He's literally endorsing a member of Congress who told innocent children who were literally starving on video to starve away. That tells you everything you need to know about my opponent, Byron Donalds.
What I know Byron, and I've always gotten along with him. He's super cheerful. I didn't realize, is he ideological? I've never detected that.
No. That's why I call him a slave.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And they called you a racist for that?
They did. Which is actually quite interesting because I got a call from the Foundational Black American Society here in Florida who reminded me that Byron's mother is Jamaican, he is Panamanian, and they found it quite insulting in their words that he would try to claim victimhood of slavery without a single descendant of American slaves in his family.
I like those foundational guys.
They're so good.
Tariq Nasheed and all. I mean, I don't agree with everything, but they've got a perspective. If your family's been here 400 years, and the descendants of a lot of American slaves or families have been here 400 years. I don't know. I think that gives. I'll listen to you. Like you've
100%.
got, you know, you've got a point of view that is legitimate. I think.
Yeah, and they're
and the thing about it is, calling themselves FBAs, Foundational Black Americans, American descendants of slaves. But the issue I have with Foundational Black Americans is they don't even act like foundational Americans. Like what they would rather do is the same shit Fishback is doing. I want to spew hate. I want to tell you the negatives of what the fuck is happening, but what they can never do is act like foundational Americans and say, you know what? I'm going to put my money behind this policy. not just behind the politician. I'm gonna put my money behind this policy, not just hiring lobbyists. I'm gonna do whatever I need to do to make sure this trickles down in my community. Foundational Black Americans still act like slaves. That's why it's cool for them to say, yeah, Byron Donalds, he can't claim that the thing because, he's not whatever. It doesn't matter.
They're unequivocally heritage Americans.
Nigga is nigga. Black is black. And if we finally get to a situation where Tariq Nasheed, these dumbass ADOs and these dumbass foundational Black Americans finally get Tucker Carlson and everybody else to put a national platform behind their bullshit. It's like, you know what? Yeah. Foundational Black Americans. But we don't act like foundational Americans. We don't do shit like foundational Americans. All we want to do is complain about the systems of oppression. But guess what? We're not showing up talking about education, about healthcare. We're not even going through the fact of the big, beautiful building and how it would impact grandmama in them community. Because guess what? Those capital gains they get on the gentrification, it's not permanent. It's not 5 or 10 years. It's right there immediately when they invest in grandmama house to come take eminent domain from that shit. So foundational Black Americans are just those can you say it? They're like the retarded cousin. Not even with autism. They're just the dumbasses that want to sit here and be like, yeah, you're the problem. And I hate to say it, these motherfuckers are gaining traction on the same divisiveness that Republicans use against Democrats and Democrats use to fool their fucking base to vote for them. It's fucking ridiculous. But I'll say this. As a half Jamaican, like my man Byron Donalds, as a half American descendant of slaves, because my sperm donors people is from Charleston, South Carolina, so we're in the slave trade somewhere in this lineage. All I see is the divisiveness really splitting us up, because if James Fishbach can go to the Florida version of the American descendant of slaves, the foundational Black Americans in Florida, just know they haven't been doing shit but spinning the block on bullshit. And it's frustrating because realizing that with 1,800 lobbyists professionally actually, working in this process, you get sick of niggas outside who continue to spin the block on bullshit that doesn't really help anybody. I'm not saying Byron Donalds will be the best governor ever. I'm not saying Jerry Demings or David Jolly will be the worst. But what I am saying is that it's unnecessary faction. People already aren't voting for Byron because they think Uncle Tom, he'll sell out to Black people. It is what it is. I don't personally take offense to that shit. But I do take offense to a Caucasian man going on a Caucasian platform, pushing the divisiveness that some egotistical ass Negroes who just want to be attached to slavery, attached to being less than, attached to being considered an animal, a 3/5 of a person. They want you to have that same struggle in order to justify your blackness in America. The same ones that say, Obama wasn't Black, Kamala wasn't Black. These motherfuckers Asian and African. They not part of this system. But the issue is, again, regardless of what it is, Tariq Nasheed, regardless of whatever is out there, y'all motherfuckers ain't pushing shit that's helpful. And I think that's the most, I'm lost in my thoughts here a bit. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning almost. It just pains me to see this shit. Because this motherfucker is really on here talking about a tether, as the ADOS and Foundational Black Americans say it. And it's sickening because it's like, damn, when we all in Rome together, Black folks, they're not asking us our nationality. They're not asking where we're from. They just look at us and group us all as one. So it's crazy to have this white man come on here and say this shit.
That's for sure.
100%.
They're definitely heritage Americans, if anyone is. And, someone rolls in from Ghana and gets an MSNBC slot and starts speaking on behalf of Black people. It's like, shut up, honey. You've got nothing to do with this.
Right.
That's a fair perspective.
Right. And so it's good to actually sit and call them out for that. That's actually cultural appropriation. Appropriating a struggle of slavery.
I totally agree.
And the struggle of...
And the thing about it real quick with Byron is his parents can be Jamaican, Panamanian, whatever. The man never forgot his roots of growing up in New York. They didn't say the man was born in these foreign countries. He was, and it's a different mindset. Godfrey will tell you, when you're raised here, but you're still American, you just look at racism less, if that makes sense.
Slavery was real. I don't think Republicans ever want to really whitewash that. It's real, right? But for
We're
Byron,
against slavery.
We're against it.
Whether it's in the, West Bank or here or anywhere. Yeah, against it.
And so for Byron's group, his team, to call me and essentially our entire supporting base racists for saying that you're a slave when quite literally you took $45 million. You won't tell us what you agreed to take that money this early in a primary, which is unprecedented. You know this, how unprecedented that kind of money is in an uncontested primary until now. But secondarily, to actually go out and try to gaslight us and think that you're just one of those guys that has been here, since the early 1800s and your family was in the struggle too, you're not. And that's a very interesting term that the foundational Black Americans use. It's called tether. They're tethering these tethers like Byron Donalds. They come here literally one generation in, and they try to just sit around and act so folksy that we're all part of the same struggle and we're all down on and we need to fight against. No, you just got here, dude. Like the Haitians, like the guys from Ghana who just got here, you don't get to just be a part of our system and then lecture us about how our country went wrong.
Well, and if you're a Republican, supposedly conservative Republican, to throw around the term racist, that's what I'll speak for myself. I voted against that in November last year.
Right.
I don't like that style of non-argument. Just dismiss someone off the top. You're a bad person. I don't have to respond to your specific charge against me. I'm too old for that.
Yeah.
I don't know about that, Tucker. I'm going to end Tucker there. Because Black Republican Tim Scott said on the floor a few years ago, he still deals with the same racism in the Capitol from Capitol Police sometimes, where they don't recognize him and they ask him extra questions on the rest of that shit. I'm not getting into it, but that's it, right? But listen, it's about 1 o'clock in the morning. We've been here since 9:30. I want to let y'all know I'm ending. I'm about to end for real tonight. Let me just make this. I'm gonna leave it how it is. Fuck it. Wait. Full face. First name, last name. I appreciate you. Listen, we've had a great stream tonight. We started off President Trump. Got a little bit of Jasmine Crockett, caught up on the Minnesota crash. Now, if you've seen it, I don't agree with this young lady losing her life, being murdered by ICE agents, but I do believe that that entire situation could have been avoided, right? I took the week off. I'll be back tomorrow, though. I have a client in town, so we have meetings down at City Hall. Got to get that together. Yes, I'm in Florida. Player from Palm Beach, live in Jacksonville. Never wanted to be here, but I'm here now. But real quick, I want to thank everybody who's tapped in. We had over 96,000 people, over 200 of y'all here right now. Now, the goal of tonight's stream, the only goal I had was to reach 9,200 subscribers, right? And I think last I checked around 9130. 9140. Let me see where we are real quick before we tap out, right? 9192. So we need 8 more people out of 227 of y'all here right now. If 8 of y'all, 8, could go ahead and subscribe right now, we'll hit 9,200 subscribers for the day, which will be the goal. Hit 9,200, and we're slowly but surely getting to 10,000, right? Y'all haven't done it yet. But either way, we've had over 97,000 people tap in on the stream today. Here from California. Appreciate you, Players Wilm. I'll subscribe, boss. I appreciate you so much, man. So if you haven't seen, she was not murdered. Billy, I'm not getting into she was killed. She was murdered. I'm not saying it was justified or unjustified. Murder is murder, right? But some of it gets justified, some of it doesn't. And at the end of the day, I agree that she wasn't making a 5-point turn. I believe that she was antagonizing ICE, and I do believe that entire situation was avoidable. That's my 2 cents on that, right? But all put together, I appreciate every single one of y'all tapping in for the stream tonight. Just more than anything.
All I ask
is when
you lay your head on that pillow at night. No, I gave you everything I had.
No, I gave you everything I had. Again, 97,000 of y'all, over 200 of y'all here right now. I'm trying to see if we're going to pass that 9,200 mark before I officially sign off. We got 3 of y'all. It's okay. I know there are 5 more souls out there that want to subscribe. There are 5 more souls that want to come on down here to subscribe. Because I'm not asking for your money.
$40.
I'm not asking for your money. I'm not even begging for the fact that, hey, subscribe to something.
Where's my fucking money?
Because that's what you're going to say if I don't produce for you. You feel what I'm saying? That's what you're going to be. Hey, Phil, I paid for this, but I didn't get what I needed. And guess what? I don't want your cash. I just want you to help me build a community. Get to 10,000. Now, a couple of y'all said you subscribe. Angie, Virtus, 93. I just want to get a 9,200. I'm going to bed, baby. Oh, we're not there yet. It's okay. Listen, I appreciate y'all. Again, I'm not going to keep belaboring it. Y'all have a great night. I'm out, man. Oh, wait, if I can get the stream ended over here, right?